Hello and welcome to yet another special episode of Pale Blue Thoughts. I have been a regular listener to many talks on the latest social media fad called Clubhouse for many weeks now. I have started to spend my time after work listening to various topics being discussed around the world, most importantly, those which are related to science. Recently, I was part of a discussion conducted by Dr. Cyriac Abbey Phillips, who is a specialist in hepatology and liver transplant medicine and who is currently working in the hepatology department at Rajagiri Hospital in Kochi, Kerala. I am bringing the recording of this session with the prior permission of Dr. Phillips and Chandrasekhar Ramesh, the host of the popular YouTube channel named Lucy, who recorded this and where this was first uploaded. The discussion is completely in English, which will enable the viewers of Pale Blue Thoughts to understand it better than had it been in Malayalam. The room was started by Dr. Abbey and his group of friends in order to promote modern science and to spread awareness about the pseudoscientific aspects of alternative and complementary medicines, which we call as woo-woo medicines at Pale Blue Thoughts. Many eminent science promoters and doctors participated and exchanged views during the session. It was really an interesting discussion which lasted for just over 2 hours. Many aspects of pseudoscience came to the fore during the discussion, which were debunked effectively by the panel, and some even resorted to various fallacies like appeal to emotions and even ad hominem in an effort to validate their nonsensical claims. I know the length of the video is much longer than my usual videos, but let me tell you, the contents are just as interesting as the normal videos. I have tried to add to it by inserting various comments and quotes about science and pseudoscience throughout the video. Once again, I thank Dr. Abbey and CR for the permission to upload this via Pale Blue Thoughts for the benefit of my viewers. So let's get right into action from ball 1.
For all those who have joined us now, please follow the room, Modern Ayush Detox Room, MAD Room, is that what we call it? And we have quite a few well-known and good science communicators as members of this particular room. We have, you can actually see the moderators. Chandrasekhar is actually one of the persons who runs the Lucy channel. You can follow his channel also on YouTube and also here on Clubhouse. He is a great science communicator, not only medicine but a lot of other aspects in science. Apurva runs the Desi Science page on Twitter. Dr. Shantanu is one of our prized members here. He actually studied homeopathy and quit homeopathy and currently is working as an obstetrics and gynecologist specialist in Maharashtra. We have Dr. Matthew Phillips, who is actually an orthopedic surgeon, and Dr. Arif is also an ex-homeopath doctor, and now he is a full-time science communicator. Pranav Radhakrishnan is the YouTuber everybody knows as on the channel Science is Dope. You should follow his YouTube channels and him on Twitter. And we have a host of other members here who have been doing science communications for a very, very long time here on Clubhouse, off Clubhouse, on Twitter, on Facebook. So I hope we have a very fruitful conversations here. We are going to face a lot of, we hope we are going to face a lot of reasonable questions that we can actually debate on. But we are also expecting to face a lot of trolling because I have been already warned by many people on my direct messaging on Twitter that they are going to come and crash the party, and they are all welcome. And I think we can start off with our session now. I would be happy if Chandrasekhar, would you like to start off with the opening words for the room?
Thank you, Abhi, for the introduction, but I think I'll join later. Let the others in the panel handle for a little bit of time. I'll join later.
Okay, so let me then go to Matthew. Matthew, are you free for us to listen to you for
I'm free for a few minutes now, so I will say.
Okay, so please take over.
In the current scenario, Clubhouse has given us an opportunity to meet together and discuss face to face many aspects. And one important thing that is plaguing our nation, especially after this COVID pandemic, is that it has exposed our nation as the what to call it, the pseudoscience capital of the world. Uh, and this pandemic has given opportunity to many pseudoscientific beliefs and systems to come out openly and sell their wares to the public, cheating them. And often it leads to what setbacks in disease control, as well as the it affects the personal health of the nation as a whole. And also the kinds of things being done here also, what it makes makes us a laughing stock of all the nations. So this is a serious matter we have to confront, and we have to confront it directly. And one of the main ways of confronting pseudoscience is to pass on clear information, good information, and also along with that to encourage clear thinking, rational thinking among people. So I hope that this group will help us achieve those aims. Of course, as Abby said, we will be facing a lot of opposition and trolls. We are ready to handle it with the weapons and with the facts which we have based on science. I wish us all very good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew, for the opening words. I would like to invite Dr. Shantanu to give us, just start off this session with a few words on his own now, because he was one person who was actually in training in homeopathy for a long time, and then practiced it for a while, and then quit homeopathy, and then came on to science-based medicine and its practice. So, Dr. Shantanu, please, could you please spend a few minutes talking to us regarding your experiences?
Sure. Thank you, Abby. It is nice to be here, to be communicating with all of you here. A very good evening to you all. I went to homeopathy college because I couldn't get into the allopathy college with my scores. I always wanted to be a doctor. But then when I went to the homeopathic college and listened to everything that they were teaching, I started developing questions which were never answered adequately by my teachers. As a young person, obviously, I could not just poo-poo my teachers and say that whatever you're telling me is trash. So I continued with the course, but then by the time I finished it, I became a non-believer in homeopathy. Finally, I decided to make another attempt and I took the All India entrance exam, which was the first All India entrance exam conducted according to the Supreme Court judgment way back in 1988, and went on to become a modern medicine doctor. I don't call it allopathy. Allopathy was a bad word, in fact, coined by the founder of homeopathy, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. Whatever we are practicing today is not allopathy, it is modern medicine. Allopathy literally means trying to treat something by giving drugs that cause something just the opposite of whatever the patient.
Dr. Shantanu, you are not audible. Could you please repeat?
And went into modern medicine, and presently I work as a gynecologist. Just today, if I may share, I have put down an article in one of our local newspapers in Maharashtra titled आमचे येथे natural cesarean करून मिळेल. Roughly translates into natural cesarean sections offered here. And the idea is that a patient walks in and says that she needs a cesarean section, but she wants it the natural way. And then I sort of, went into loud thinking as to what would natural cesarean section mean. Would it mean anesthesia by just banging her head against the wall and finishing the cesarean section before she wakes up? And then I realized that, well, so many drugs that were being used while doing the cesarean section, such as atropine, the Fortwin, aspirin, the antibiotics such as penicillin are all derived from plants and could very well be termed as natural. The idea is that natural, holistic, root cause, whatever, all these are marketing labels and they don't really mean much. That is the whole idea, and I believe that we must keep insisting that what matters is evidence-based medicine, science-based medicine, and these are just marketing labels. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shantanu. So I would just like to mention that, I mean, for the followers and those in the public, in the audience, you must understand what pseudoscience is and what science is, first of all. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at pseudoscience basically is a collection of statements or beliefs or practices that claim to be scientific, and they may look factual, but they're actually incompatible with the scientific method. It's a very simple definition because you cannot test them. For example, if I take the example of homeopathy per se, if somebody says like cures like, I mean, logically, if you think about it, how can like cure like? And what are the reasons why people actually say like cures like? So it's just a blanket statement. There are no evidences to show that like actually can cure like. So this is why it looks like it is scientific, but actually when you want to test it, you cannot, because it is not falsifiable. So the whole point of science is that you actually don't start with yes, it works. You actually start with it is not going to work. That is not as a null hypothesis, right? So you say that this drug is not going to prevent heart disease, and then you test it and you say yes, it prevents heart disease. That is, your hypothesis is rejected. Null hypothesis is rejected. That is the whole point. But if you look at pseudoscience, it's all positive. They all start with positive. This herb cures this asthma. This homeopathy drug prevents this cancer. This homeopathy drug can prevent COVID. I mean, there was no germ theory also at the time of Hahnemann penning down homeopathy principles. But they claim that they can prevent and treat even a viral disease like COVID. So this is the whole point of science versus pseudoscience in the simplistic terms. Now, I would like to call Dr. Arif. He was also a homeopathy physician and currently a very, very powerful science communicator in the South. And I would like him to please give us a few of his experiences and few minutes on why he chose science over pseudoscience.
Thank you, Abhi, for inviting me here. Hope I am audible.
Yes, please continue.
Okay,
There's some disturbance at the back, but you're audible.
Yeah. Okay. So I was just listening to all the discussions that was happening here, and I'm really glad to meet even Dr. Shantanu here, because I have seen him presenting some topics from TED Talks and all. So hi to Dr. Shantanu and all other persons here. So first of all, when we consider science and pseudoscience and how I could move from a pseudoscience to a science, that was really a difficult journey in what I've done in the past 3 or 5 years. So one of the main reasons why I had to choose science over this pseudoscience is that even before going to that, I would say that the most important aspect for a person who was forced to study homeopathy just because that was part of our social system, education system. And I was just taking this homeopathy just because it was available in front of me as an option of study just after coming out of my plus 2 and after going for the medical entrance. And then I could see that homeopathy was an option as a medical field. So I just chose studying that. And even before that, during my childhood, homeopathy was the most chosen during my childhood. So until then, for me, homeopathy was just another treatment option, just like modern medicine or Ayurveda or any other. So I was thinking, okay, homeopathy is something genuine and it is being supported by the government. So there's no problem in studying that, and that's perfectly all right to go for homeopathy as a profession. But after getting into the college and after studying all these things and after trying to practice and after trying to get out of the badging, like homeopathy is a pseudoscience, wherever we go, even when you do a simple Google search, you will be seeing that homeopathy is a pseudoscience. So that was really a heartbreaking moment for me, that realization, because that was not told to me, that was not said to me while I was trying to study this. But after coming to the college and after trying to practice, I was seeing this again and again. I was really heartbroken, and I was trying to get out of that. And at that moment, I was just trying to identify the real reason why homeopathy is a pseudoscience. And that was not an easy job. That was not an easy journey as well. So I could find many reasons and many kind of explanations given by the proponents of homeopathy, the major homeopaths and the leading practitioners and the gurus inside homeopathy. So what I saw there was that a few points which can clearly differentiate between science and pseudoscience apart from the scientific reasons. Dr. Abby was telling here what differentiates between science and pseudoscience. More than that, what I was really interested in this differentiation was the way the data or the way the people are approaching these two field or these two different entities. That means a few points, like if any kind of criticism is made against any of these systems, like just imagine that we are criticizing homeopathy based on the principles that is taking up, trying to propagate and trying to say that even now we can see that arsenicum album is being given as a immune booster for COVID-19. So when we criticize that, the homeopaths are taking that in a very personal manner, and the criticism is taken very personally, and it's being supported with some conspiracy theories that we are criticizing the principles or the methods of homeopathy just because of these big pharma or the medicine lobbying and many such things. Conspiracy theories, we can call them as in a grouping. We can group them as a conspiracy theories. So that's one of the main reasons, or one of the main point which I could identify as being taken up by the homeopaths to explain or to defend the criticisms that we were facing, means being a homeopath. So I was really amazed by that, and I was not happy with those kind of reasoning. So I began searching for more clear answers, and finally I could find some answers, or I could arrive at some points which could clearly differentiate between science and pseudoscience. And among that, another most important thing was the quality of evidence. So whenever we say that we need evidence, homeopaths or the proponents of these pseudoscience, they will be coming up with testimonials and anecdotal evidence. So for science, that's not a way they could analyze or take up these kind of evidence. There should be a quality for this evidence, and testimonials or anecdotal evidence that comes in the pyramid at the bottom. So that means it's of least quality and it's of least importance. We cannot just depend upon these kind of testimonials or anecdotal evidence and use them as a means for making policy decisions, or like just we are taking up policies regarding the vaccines or any other treatment options. So we are in the science, we are taking up evidence in a different manner. So that was the second thing which came to me, and which was really a revelation or an epiphany for me, that I could learn something new from the part of science. And I would say, if you ask me what are the two major things which led me from pseudoscience to science, I would say that these two are the main things. That is, defending the criticism using the conspiracy theories or as a personal attack ad hominems and other kind of things. And the second one is this evidence-based medicine and the hierarchy of quality of evidence. These two things are the main two reasons which I could learn, and I could travel from pseudoscience to science, and now I am an ex-homeopath, and I am trying to propagate these things to the public. I hope this will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Arif, for your experiences. And it's actually very important why that transition needs to be made. Just for the audience following and the members here, please follow the club rules. So there are some room rules here. Where please, if you look at the room and click on the rules button, you can actually see a set of 3 rules there. Please try and follow that. I mean, actually do follow it if you get into a debate or an argument on any topic here in this room. I would like to invite Dr. Tony to speak a few words on why science communication is important. especially in India, especially all over India, in this current era of the pandemic?
Thank you, Abby. Am I audible?
Yes,
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 sir.
you're audible.
Thank you, guys. I mean, this is in fact a good initiative because what I've always noticed is that in though in Kerala there is a general awareness among all these things, we've seen that beyond Kerala, people really don't know the difference about science and pseudoscience. Most of the time, it is being propagated by the government itself. So the whole idea here is to bring in an awareness among the public how to know the difference between a science and a pseudoscience. Uh, when we say evidence-based medicine, I think like Arif had already mentioned, people think it's the testimonials or the experience that they get is what is evidence. So I think we should also bring in awareness about how evidence-based medicine works and how a common man could basically figure out the difference between a science and a pseudoscience. And there is nothing called an alternate science. There's only one science. There's only one way for science, one protocol, one guideline. So there's nothing called an alternate physics, alternate chemistry, alternate medicine. There's only one medicine. There's only one science. I think in the upcoming days, we're bringing more awareness about all these things. Thank you, Abhi.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Now, I think I'll ask Pranav to say a few words, and ask him specifically why he does science communication the way he does it. You have to follow Pranav's YouTube channel called Science is Dope. He has done marvelous videos on science communications there, and I would like to invite Pranav to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Abby. I think this panel is really great. We have a lot of medically qualified professionals on this panel, and I think they can shed a lot of light on all this medical pseudoscience that goes around. I agree that medical pseudoscience is probably the most harmful form that pseudoscience can take, but the reason it exists, in my opinion, is because culturally we are prone to a lot of pseudoscience at home, back home. So things like astrology or Vastu Shastra or let's say all these rituals that we follow, like things like not eating during the solar eclipse. All of these things, all of these ideas that persist culturally is what leads to more dangerous ideas like all these medical pseudoscience ideas which people end up losing their lives on. So the reason I started was because I wanted to tackle it from the roots. I wanted to tackle as many pseudoscience ideas because trying to eliminate them or trying to make people aware of them is one way people can avoid falling into traps like these, because once you do end up over there, it's very hard to be aware of things from the inside. You have to look at it from a third person perspective, and that awareness is what all of us are trying to bring, I guess. So yeah, that's why I started. I wanted to try and make people aware of ideas and begin the fight right back at home. So yeah.
Thank you, Pranav. And I
Yeah.
think finally, I would like to ask Dr. Filjan. Dr. Filjan is actually he's an Ayurvedic physician. He's working in the UK, and what I would specifically want him to answer is why is it important for people to understand the scientific way of management in healthcare. Now, I'm talking about only healthcare. Why is it important for people to understand what is dangerous to them and what is not dangerous, what is effective and what is safe? Could you please tell us a few things about such principles from your practice and your experience in Ayurvedic science?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Dr. Abhi. And I would like to comment on a few things regarding the Ayurvedic practice and the legal aspects in UK. So the practice in UK is not legalized. The Ayurvedic practice is not legalized. So what Dr. told is exactly right, because the Ayurvedic practice is not evidence-based as per the UK government policy. So the people fail to show some evidence that it is effective to some disease condition or for some techniques as such.
Basically, I have now opened the room to everyone to raise their hands so that we can take questions from now on. And in the meantime, I would like Tony. Would you like to say something, please? Please.
Yeah. I just missed out something. Just want to say that in these upcoming days, we shall be going into the fundamentals of all these pseudosciences. We would be discussing their theory, their failure in diagnosing diseases, their failures in research, and the content of toxic medicines that's being provided in the community. So we shall be going into all fine details in the coming days. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I think I have. Is Dr. Filjan back?
Yeah,
Or
yes, I can
yeah,
add few
please.
points. Yeah, the thing is that as per the government policy, you can register only as a massage therapist here. That's the government policy here, because you can see the registration is under some councils. Wherever you live, the registration should be under some councils. So the council policy is like that. The Ayurveda is classified under special treatments, and the subcategory is massage. That means you cannot give a prescription, and you cannot claim that you can treat some disease. You cannot claim like that. So you cannot give a prescription, and you cannot treat a disease, and it's only just an external therapy. That also regularized that you can only do the therapies, like only do two therapies, the head massage and body massage. It's very restricted, very minimal practice as per the regulations in UK. But what the people do is that they give these Ayurvedic medicines as they use these medicines as herbal supplements. So they import from India as a herbal supplement or food supplements. And in the practice, they will give this as a supplement for some conditions. So it's like, no, it's not legal kind of thing. But they'll tell patients, some patients, this you can use as a medicine also, like that. But as per the government policy, they can distribute these things only as a herbal supplement. And there is an yellow while using through some pound, some even I think get all adverse effect while using Vedic. Always say in Ayurvedic discussions also, we should have some, not some, we should have evidence-based formulations. Then only we can claim in other countries that our medicine is effective for certain conditions and is free from toxins. And regarding the preservative use also, there should be some regulations. So I always
in very less number. So if you go back to the Materia Medica Pura, you can see many drugs being proved and being noted down in those Materia Medica. And even then you can see that most of the drugs are getting proved in 1 or 2 people. And he is taking that as a convincing or as a main symptom of that drug. And he is even trying to say that this symptom was produced due to the action of the medicine which he was given. So statistical insignificance is the main reason why I had to leave homeopathy, because similar principle, if you go back to the different principles that is being taken up by homeopaths, there are many other principles, almost 7 principles are there. Law of similia is there, law of single dose, law of simple medicine, then law of vital force, then miasma theory, many theories are there, almost 7 theories are there. Actually that was not proposed by Hahnemann, but that was taken out by the later homeopaths who started learning homeopathy from Hahnemann. So among that, similar principle was one of the main principle. But if a person desired to learn science, and he desired to recheck the various aspects of homeopathy, the least possible or the last principle which a person might desire to give away or to discard will be the similar principle, because each and every other principle can be discarded so easily. Because for example, if you take vitalism, it's very easy to discard that, because even a kid who is deciding to study science can see that vitalism was discarded almost a century ago. So if a homeopath comes and say that vitalism is the main reason for homeopathy to be seen working in different diseases, he can easily find it out as a false claim and he can discard it. But for similar principle, it's very difficult. So that will be the last discarded principle that can be discarded by a homeopath. So for me, that was the same with me even. So for me, how I was able to do that was just by taking this aspect of science, that is statistical significance, and I was learning or rechecking all these medicinal symptoms given or written by Hahnemann in his books, and I was just reading through those things, and I could find that statistical significance was not considered by Hahnemann. So that was a false observation. So that was one of the main reasons, or the major reason why I had to discard similar principle. So that's how this transition happened. So I think this gives an overall picture of how similar is formulated, and how the Materia Medica Pura is formulated, and how I came out of these things. I think this answers all the three. Thank you.
Thank you, Arif. And for Hemant, I would like you to read this article by Edzard Ernest. He's one of the first professors of complementary and alternative medicine in the Exeter University of UK. And he is a homeopath and has done a lot of work in homeopathy studies. And you please read this article by the title, "The Prime Assumption of Homeopathy is Based on a Misunderstanding." It'll actually clear all your doubts, and you'll see why homeopathy is a pseudoscience to start with.
Yeah, one point I just forgot to add is that this observation made by Hahnemann, that was a misunderstanding, which we say today as that was a allergic reaction to the syncona. We call it as synconism. That was the main reason, which was always said by the critics of homeopathy. But this statistical significance, that was not always taken up by the critics. So I was just trying to add that to the main point, so that can be even repeated in the future debates or criticisms. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Arif. I think now we can move on to Ashan. I think you're the next person.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. Actually, I wanted to ask you something. I think AB was the first person who said about this. I think you published some article regarding Herbalife or something. Did you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
please
You're the
ask the
first
question.
person.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yesterday, my cousin came to my home and asked my father to join the Herbalife club and all. So I got concerned because I heard your speech a few weeks ago, where you said actually this is bad for you and all. So can you please explain that? I'm putting this on recording so I can show it to my father.
Ashan, I think Herbalife is actually a different topic altogether. It is part of herbal and dietary supplements. It does not come under our current topic, but we will be holding a session on Herbalife and supplements in the coming weeks, and I think we can take this up very, very detailed at that point. Would you like to ask anything other than this on science and pseudoscience?
My father is actually trying to start this on Monday, so it will be helpful.
No, we'll discuss this at some other point. We'll stick to the topic, Ashan.
Okay.
Yeah, Ashan, see, your business decisions are your personal things. Better don't ask for advice in public forums like this. We'll be.
I heard it's bad for you, so it will be helpful. So.
All multi-level marketing companies, they have an element of risk in it. If you are joining it, you have to understand. You have to read about it, learn about it, then only make the decision. Just
no,
don't go by.
I just want to know if it is bad for you or not.
Yeah, Ashan, please go and read the article I have written on it. It has come up on this particular website called as Science Integrity Digest. Just type in Science Integrity Digest Herbalife, and you will get all your details there. Please show it to your father. Okay, let us move on. Next is, I think, Pratik. Pratik, would you like to say something?
Yes, so I have one question. Okay, so how to differentiate between the placebo effect and the pseudoscience of homeopathy? And also, there is a second question, or I cannot put it in words, like because like people have some intuition about the pseudoscience because of the culture, as we discussed, but the scientific ideas can be counterintuitive. So sometimes what happens is scientific opinion means coming like it comes down to keeping faith in experts or doctors. So like how to proceed forward, and first one question is the placebo effect and this pseudoscience.
Would Tony or Arif would like to take that up, the question?
May I?
Yes, yes, Nishad, please, welcome.
Hi. What is the gentleman? What's his name? I didn't see who was asking. Is it
Pratik,
Pratik? Yes,
Pratik.
Pratik.
Yes.
Pratik, your question is specific to how to distinguish pseudoscience and science. Is that your question?
No. Pseudoscience, the practices of pseudoscience, and the sometimes we see the placebo effect. So that can we say the placebo effect is pseudoscience, like something like that,
No.
causing.
Placebo effect is not pseudoscience, but pseudoscience is like homeopathy specifically, and there are other things like pranic healing and Reiki. These are the treatment methods which rely on unsubstantiated claims. I mean, unsubstantiated evidence. There is no evidence to back it up. So, for those reasons, we call them as pseudoscience. And there could be placebo effect. It's not placebo. They're not giving a placebo, but they're saying that they're giving a medicine, and the patient believes, the person who is receiving the treatment believes, is led to believe that he is getting treatment, and there could be a placebo effect. And because of that, the credit usually goes to the practitioner, the person who is practicing this art. So that does not mean that there is no such thing as a placebo. If your I hope I've answered the question. And all placebos are not pseudoscience. A placebo is given only during a trial for drug trials. There are reasons why placebos are given. It is for double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, and it's never given as a medicine, as far as I understand. The professionals in the room can probably help me out. Placebo is never given as part of a medical regime, because that would be unethical to give a placebo to a patient who is expecting a medicine. But during trials, it is understood that you may be receiving a placebo or a medication. So there is absolutely no way for the patient to know what he's receiving, and that is the reason why a placebo is used in medical trials. Is this clear, Pratik?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would maybe add on to that, saying that the whole point of doing placebo trials is that you, for two things. One is you want to know that the drug that you are giving is as safe as the placebo, and second is that it is more effective than the placebo, which is actually what we're looking for. So placebo is not a treatment; it is actually a landmark by which we can measure our intervention. For example, a new drug or an old drug for a new purpose, etc., like that. So the whole point of pseudoscience is that there is absolutely no role of placebo-controlled trials there, because the whole foundation of pseudoscientific principles is not based on placebo-controlled trials or evidence generation, but more like faith, belief, and appeal to tradition. So that is the whole difference.
And that's where homeopathy has failed in their trials, because most of their trials, they couldn't prove anything beyond the placebo.
Okay. And there was a other question, like this scientific opinion directly comes down to keeping faith in experts and doctors for some, or for most of us. So like I'm not from the medicine background, so like how to tackle this. Uh,
Okay, that is a good question. That is a very relevant question. And in most civil democracies, in civilized countries, this choice has never this choice is never left to the general public. And that choice is already made for the public by a responsible government. They make that choice. They decide that only certain types of medicines or certain types of treatment can be actually be made part of the public health system. So in such countries, you would not even find homeopathy and Ayurveda as part of a treatment, as a medical treatment. It would be called like CAMs, like complementary alternative medicines, which is usually not covered by insurance. So when a treatment plan is not covered by the insurance, automatically the interest for the public will decrease. So that is how it is actually maintained in civilized societies. Unfortunately, many other countries do not have such rigorous requirements for a medical system. It usually goes with the general public's choices. It's usually a populist decision rather than a democratic decision. And in such cases, the general public, like yourself, the general public is left to make that choice by looking at papers or speaking to experts. In usual civilized societies, such choices are never made by the public. It's made by their responsible governments. And that is the problem here. I hope you understand. And how do we overcome that? We have to go through proper peer-reviewed papers or those who have got some expertise in this subject. I understand your pain. It is a major difficulty in dealing with this dilemma, and that's why we do these kind of rooms, so we can help people understand what is science and what is pseudoscience.
Thank you, Nishad. I think now we'll move on to Tijo. Tijo, would you like to ask something?
Hello. Apurva. हेलो अपूर्वा.
Yes, go ahead.
आपकी माँ का भूसड़ा.
Brilliant. Please do go on.
Interesting.
No, he just no. He just described a part of the anatomy. That's perfectly.
Can you move that person outside?
Yeah, he's that person is out. That person is out. No, we expect this, right? We want this because everybody should know that when we talk about science, the only thing pseudoscience believers and practitioners can do is either abuse. This is known as ad hominem, or
That's
they
okay.
go around in circles. That's
That's
all they can
fine.
do, and we want the public to see this. See, that is the whole point. When we talk straight science, they come and abuse you and go. And I'm very happy that that person got that anatomy part right, because in Susruta, anatomy is all written completely wrong, which is actually pretty good. Yeah. So I think we can go to Tijo. Tijo, are you there? Can you hear us? Tijo is not there, I think. So
Let's
the
go to
next
V.
person would be
V.
V. Yes, please. We can you can we can
Varun. Yeah.
Varun. Yes, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, folks. First of all, thank you, Dr. Abby, for hosting such a wonderful room. We have been debating about this in Malayalam, but it's a great opportunity for other people, like non-Malayalis, to interact. Especially when it comes to English. So let me start. I just have 3 points. So first one is pseudosciences. We should not just restrict to medicines medicines, Ayurveda, homeo. We should also discuss. It is just a suggestion: yoga and other pseudoscience practices. Then, second, I would like to speak about the how this pseudoscience emerges, or like how it grows, especially in this particular era. So let's take example of homeo. They start with initially they started with energy philosophy or whatever it is. Then later on, when we started questioning them, they changed their plate. They changed their focus into nanoparticles or nanotechnology. They brought nanotechnology into this, and once we question about nanotechnology, like nanoparticles are like anyway, like it's bigger particles. It's not less than, size is not less than atoms or whatever it is. So when we started questioning them, they changed again their focus into some other things like MIP, molecularly imprinted polymers. Then when we started questioning that, then they changed into like quantum theory. So this is how this pseudosciences progresses. This is how they manipulate the general public. So like that, if we can address that to a bigger audience, that will be like very good. Then third thing is the heavy metal concentration in Ayurvedic materials. Most of the Ayurvedic materials contains like heavy lead, arsenic, chromium, and already papers are there. So this is also a concerning factor which we need to discuss. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, V. I mean, we'll be discussing one topic each in detail about principles of all of these pseudoscientific practices, how it actually is still surviving in this current world, especially in India. We'll be talking about it in detail in the coming few weeks. I think we can now move on to Aladdin.
Okay, thank you so much. It's good evening. It's a good initiative to
Hello, good
have.
evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please carry on.
Okay, thank you. It's nice to have you all speak English now. Okay. Just one point. If a person having a real or a fake PhD in theology or philosophy or any other subject and talk about health can easily mislead people. One thing, people having a fake doctor prefix in their name, but they are not medical doctors, should use a disclaimer in their social media profile that I'm not a medical doctor. But I know people will not use it even if we people ask it. So I request everyone listening now, if you see such a person on social media, message them. You put a disclaimer or ask them whether they are medical doctors. If they are not, request them, use a disclaimer. Otherwise, we will disclose them. This is my personal opinion. Let me know what you feel about it. Thank you so much.
I would like to
Kaipalli,
add some.
yeah,
I would
Kaipalli,
like
please.
to. Yeah, I would like to add. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It is quite important that people who use the term doctor come up with full disclosure and say that what kind of doctor they are, whether they are a doctor of modern medicine or whether they are a doctor of homeopathy or Ayurveda or whatever. Because now that term can be used for any of the Ayush streams. So there are quite a few those who don't use the term homeopathy, but they would use Ayush doctor, which is terribly misleading. It could mean that he's an Ayurveda doctor or a homeopathy doctor. The being an Ayurveda doctor is far slightly better. At least there is something being given. There is some substance being administered than calling oneself a homeopathy doctor, which is a total, absolutely nothing is dispensed. So this distinction should be made clear to the general public. They should be aware that the term DR means many things. It could be a doctorate in biochemistry and not have any clinical experience. So it is true. This is a very weird thing. And in fact, in a lot of our groups, as a rule, we don't put any of our qualifications. We do not disclose what qualifications we have, because it's not what qualifications speak, it's what the people speak. So this is something that we as a team follow rigorously. Of course, if to those who want to put their title, but be clear on what it is. Don't be ambiguous. Don't be vague about your title. If you're saying you are a doctor, please be clear on what kind of a doctor you are, rather than just say, doctor so and so. Thank you.
Shall we move on to Devnath?
Before we go, in fact, Bobbin wanted to share some of his thoughts. Unfortunately, he's just a moderator, but can we give him a chance, please?
Okay, let's yeah, please go ahead.
Bobin, if you're there, please unmute and speak, Bobin. If not, we'll go to the next.
Yeah, so next is Nanda. Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Actually, I want to ask a question about detoxification is in our body. Is it a pseudoscience or it's a partial pseudoscience? Because if detoxification is not happening in our body, then how do we get healthy? And are the toxins produced in our body? And a second thing is regarding mysticism. Science has a limit of many things, like we at a point, when we reach a point, there are some things which are unanswered. So people like me who are curious to know and who are not from a medical field, they turn to look for answers, and which leads to things like mysticism, yoga, etc. So what alternative solution would all of you, some of you, recommend me?
Yeah, so I'll take that first question where you spoke about detoxification, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we as human beings already have very good detoxification systems in our body. The first one is the liver, and the second one is the kidney. So we don't need any other detoxification processes other than these two. And we have to maintain their health. That is what is required. So if you ask me what are these detox that you see all around on WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook and whatnot, they are basically businesses. They are basically promotions. They are basically programs that are done to make your purse and wallet lighter, emptier, and that's it. So there is no science behind any detoxification. So detoxification actually happens a lot in Ayurvedic practice. No, it's a lot of stuff in Ayurveda which actually we follow as part of these modern day detoxification processes. So they have rejuvenating therapy, detoxification. Now, if you ask me, there is a kind of practice known as panchkarma in Ayurveda, where they use a series of processes, including vomiting, purging, induced diarrhea, bloodletting, a lot of stuff which they claim will detox you. But how does it detox somebody? I mean, if you vomit out, or if you have a lot of diarrhea, or if you let your blood out, how does it detoxify you? So there is no evidence towards whatever they claim. So detoxification, yes, God has given us a detoxification system. I'm taking the name of God because I'm just taking it as an example here, uh, in the form of kidneys and liver, and that is all the detox that we need. And I think in the second part is very important, because science has its limitations. Science has its limitations because there are gaps that we currently do not know. For example, the COVID outbreak suddenly happened, and we were unaware of what was happening. But now look at where we are. More than a year after the outbreak, we know a lot about that virus. We know a lot about what works, what does not work. And that is how science is. Science does not accept that it knows everything. It accepts that there are certain problems, there are deficiencies, there are gaps, but that does not mean that you can fill those gaps with pseudoscience. And that is exactly what pseudoscience wants. They are looking for those gaps, and they are going to fill those gaps, and they are going to fill those gaps with deception and false evidences. And that is what one must, in the general, understand about pseudoscientific practices.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add on to that point, there was a great point made by Abby. So I think one of the core philosophies of science is intellectual honesty. So in science, if we don't know something, we just say we don't know. So that's the reason we are trying to find out. But that gap is often filled by pseudoscience, like Dr. Abby just mentioned, which is unfortunate. But the important thing we need to, I think, normalize, or like many people say, we should normalize saying I don't know more often. So when we don't have evidence for something, or when we don't know how something works, we should accept that we don't know the answer. So that is the core of science. Not knowing or telling that I don't know is the core of science, actually.
Shall I add something?
Yes, please. Yeah,
So
please.
the thing is that, like, your body is perfected by millions of years of evolution. So what I suggest is you better stay away from all the detoxification thing, because that is going to make your kidneys and liver non-functional. So it is always good to stick with modern medicine and science. Thank
There is
If
also
I could
something.
just, yeah.
One thing. I just wanted to add one small point to this. One of the most common detox, which has been promoted by one of our great freedom fighters, is enemas. which supposedly rids your body of toxins. This has no clinical evidence, and in fact, it is also pretty dangerous to do this. So that is one thing, and then there are some other detoxification things which are less dangerous, but still has no evidence, like foot detox. Your foot, they'll put a small something in the sole, an adhesive sticker. Then after a while, it'll come out with basically it'll just peel off the skin, the callus in your feet, and this is supposed to be detoxing. And then there is again in Delhi and Bangalore, you see oxygen detox centers where they give you oxygen to breathe, which is, again, it can be dangerous if it is inhaled in large quantities for long periods of time. It's about 85% oxygen. You're not supposed to do that because your body only requires very low levels of oxygen, which we already get from air for free. So these are the things that they capitalize on. So just stay away from them.
Yeah, Abhijit, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on.
Yes, please go on. We can hear you. Abhijit, are
As
you? Yeah, you got
as
broken in between. Yeah, please go on.
okay. There is such a thing as toxicity, and that's usually heavy metal toxicity or the ingestion of certain poisons or anything of that sort, which of course lead to serious medical conditions that need to be treated very seriously by professional doctors to heal. And we do have detox procedures for such for such problems. But as everybody has said before, most of these detox products, quote unquote, that are in the market, that are liver detox, which the liver is already detoxing your body quite well, those are all marketing scams, and none of them have been proven to do anything else. I was curious. Nanda had asked something about mysticism, but I missed that one. I don't know if we're going to be tackling that one today or not. But well, if she comes up later, then I'd like to hear what she had to ask.
I mean, would you like to add anything on that mysticism, Abhijit?
I don't remember exactly what she had asked about mysticism.
Yeah, I mean, basically it
She
was
was
about these
asking about
pseudoscientific
the
practices.
gaps in science, and people use mysticism and fancy thinking to fill up these gaps in science, and she was concerned about that.
Yes,
It could
this
be
is
that,
something,
or
of
it could be
course.
something else as well. Usually, mysticism is like a hodgepodge cocktail of all the things that you cannot, actually put a pin on. It's not a clear thing. It's very broad. So, if there is some specific cases, is it like bringing in spirits or talking to the dead, that sort of thing? Then it is a given that it is like pseudoscience. If it's anything else, let's hear.
And of course, you have people like Deepak Chopra and a lot of people who are in the fad diet industries, who either speak absolute gibberish and say that your body works in mysterious ways and that you can connect your chakras to the
Cosmic
heavens and
oneness.
somehow
Yeah. It connects to the cosmic
exactly.
oneness. Your Kundalini connects directly through Wi-Fi 5G to the cosmic oneness, and quantum energy will pass through your nostrils into your Kundalini and through your 5 chakras. So that kind of language
Yes,
makes no
and
sense
heal your
whatsoever,
whole body of all
and
your
nobody will
ailments.
question you. Nobody will question you. It just
Exactly.
goes.
So this is a similar. I feel that this is a very similar argument to what's called the God of the gaps, which is basically as has been described. I don't want to get into religion. I'm just saying that this is an analogy that as science has progressed and has continued to explain the natural world in more detail, the need for a god or gods to explain such phenomena like earthquakes or hurricanes or bad year crops or a drought has receded further and further and further. And so now God in the who basically represents an explanation for how nature works has receded into only the pockets of ignorance that we still have. For example, the creation or the what initiated the Big Bang, what was before the Big Bang, what's outside the universe, etc., etc. So, in a very similar way, we have mysticism and spirituality and practices like Reiki and auras and faith healing, which don't necessarily, I mean, it's not like science can't explain how these things work. It's just that they have receded into the places where people are ignorant. It's where if you have a basic understanding or literacy of science, you know that these things can't work or have no basis of working. But they have used people's ignorance against them to establish themselves as a spiritual or a mystical way of healing, which again has absolutely no basis in reality or in science.
Thank you, Vijit. I think now we can move on to Kiran. He is the next person. Kiran, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you,
please.
V. So actually, I have a question to Shantanu. Shantanu is here. Yeah, uh, Shantanu, hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Shantanu, I am basically an Ayurvedic practitioner. So I
Okay.
have a question. Just what do you think that what will be the science 50 years after? So are you able to predict it?
No. Why?
Okay.
Nobody could have
Yeah, okay.
predicted
That
COVID
itself answered my question.
even a year before. Yes.
Because now basically all these discussions are going around like uh, like to establish what science is based on the knowledge as on today. It is not even about the knowledge tomorrow, or it is not even about the knowledge which we could get after 1 hour. So all these discussions are happening about the knowledge and the ability of technology and science to understand the universe and understand the human body as on today. It is not about what will happen or what the science is going to be after 50 years. So that's basically explains everything. So here it is really interesting to see a lot of nice doctors, and basically when we see the science and the scientific inquisitiveness, we it is uh, I like to think about Dr. Valyatan or a Dr. Naresh Tehran, or I live in Germany. I work with modern medicine doctors here. So we see a lot of interesting people who also have similar inquisitiveness, and they are trying to interpret these kind of fundas. It's better to call like fundas in their own way. So that's what it is. So please don't try to be prophets, and don't try to predict science after 50 years. That's all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, can Adesh, I'll just add one point and then I think I can open it up for you to discuss. I would like the public, the audience to learn about two things that has happened here. One is something known as logical fallacies, right? Everybody should know what a logical fallacy is. Basically, fallacy is when a mistake is made to actually turn around the argument purposefully. The logical argument becomes twisted. And what Kiran has done here is something known as appeal to ignorance. So he's basically talking about something that has not happened yet. So we have to take that as a logical fallacy, and this does not add to anything beneficial for this argument. So that is appeal to ignorance. And if you actually notice further down the discussion, he again said Professor Velyathan and all that big names he used. That is known as appeal to authority. So basically, the speaker, that is Kiran, has nothing else to offer us from a scientific standpoint. So he does all these appeals to whitewash pseudoscience. So know this. This is your first lesson on logical fallacies on this mad room, which is exactly why we call this as a mad room. So I hope you understand this. Thank you.
Maybe
Ajesh,
just
please go on.
one
Mr.
more point
Kiran,
I can add.
Mr. Kiran, before
No,
coming,
yeah, Ajesh, please.
1 minute, 1 minute. Let Kiran make a point to Kiran. Mr. Kiran, you have given a great prophecy. Okay, I am just asking. So, answer this. So, what should we do?
Okay, can I answer?
May I add?
Yeah. So
Yeah, this is
actually
Dr. Shantanu.
Hello, Abhi,
Please
can I
carry on.
speak?
Dr. Shantanu,
No, Kiran,
he
please
directed the
answer.
question to you.
So
Ajay,
your prophecy we
No,
have
no, no.
heard.
Ajay,
If I am
Ajay,
allowed to
please wait.
speak, I will
Please
speak.
wait.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
I will keep
Ajay,
quiet.
please,
please
no
wait.
cross talk.
Please
1 second,
wait.
please hold on. Kiran, please answer the question and then we'll move on. Yeah, please answer the
Okay.
question.
So this is all about the nutshell of the scientific publications, and the it is more than scientific publication. There is a knowledge business involved in it, and then it is also about the impact factors and the citations
No,
and all
Mr.
these kind of
Kiran,
things.
please answer
So
my
all
question.
these,
You give Mr. Kiran, please answer my
Rajesh,
question. You
Rajesh,
given a
I am
prophecy.
when I talk,
So
you may be
no,
polite enough to keep your mouth
don't
shut.
No,
circumvent. Don't circumvent impact factor
Rajesh,
journal and
Kiran,
all.
you
please
may
You
answer
please
his
keep
given
your
question.
you
mouth
no no
shut.
Ajish, order,
no
please.
Mr.
Order. Let
Mr.
Kiran
Ajay,
speak.
Rajesh,
Kiran.
Let Kiran
Ajay,
speak.
Ajay,
Ajay,
let him speak. We'll see where he goes. A lot for us to learn from him. Please go.
okay,
And
thank you, Abhi.
Kiran,
So
one
you,
minute. Kiran, 1 minute.
okay,
And
how many people are here? Come on,
no,
man,
I'm
all these guys.
wait. The question Kiran initially raised was to Shantanu, and I think after Kiran gives an explanation on the question by Ajesh, I think Shantanu should respond. Thank
Okay.
Shantanu answered it. Shantanu said that he cannot predict. It's very sincere.
Kiran,
It's
we
a
have
very
finished that
genuine
part. Please come
scientific
back to your
answer.
question and answer.
Pardon?
Please come back to the question Ajesh was asking.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Please
I'm coming.
please
So I can
answer me.
speak. Okay.
So you
So
said science cannot predict future. So what is your answer?
okay. So what is the basically it is all about the science which you guys perceive. Okay. So it is all about you want a science to be science until and unless it is completely validated and completely published by a highly indexed article with a lot of citations and all these kind of things, then only it will be science. And you itself, you know that there is a lot of Nobel laureates and a lot of science and a lot of findings, a lot of inventions, a lot of theories they came in other channel which is not even published in all these high funda or highly
Kiran,
indexed
one
articles.
second.
Okay.
I have to stop you here. I have to stop you here.
Okay, you will
Yeah,
do that. You
yeah.
you
Because I
cannot
want
give
no.
me
You can go
30
on.
seconds.
Because
Okay.
one point, Kiran.
For
One
10
second.
seconds,
The
Abhi, I beg
audience,
you. 10 seconds.
audience,
10
please
seconds.
understand that this is known as whataboutery. This is known as whataboutery. Kiran cannot answer anything, so he's going on to
Come on.
publications and whatnot.
No, no, no,
Right. So this is whataboutery.
no,
Kiran, that is it. And
no,
now,
no, no.
Shantanu can say.
You really need to be that intolerant?
No, because we have
Anyway,
to tolerate scientific discussions, Kiran,
That's what I
not
am. Give me
unscientific
1 second.
whataboutery.
Give me 1 second. Give
We
me
have
one
given
second.
you
Okay,
more
the
than a
last
minute.
I
point.
think
Just the
Oh,
last
please.
point.
I
Just the last
I
point.
think it is. I think this is not productive, and
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
is like sea
Kaipalli will
lining.
say that I know
He's
it. You just block me because you cannot answer.
he's
That's
sea
it. Very
lining.
simple.
He's sea
If you
lining.
cannot,
I can answer you.
so
I
you
can
guys
answer
are
you.
saying that
I
like
can answer you. You
just last
don't
thing. Kaipalli will
deserve an
interrupt. I know this is how what you do always. You always do.
You
You
don't.
open the mic when I talk. You always do these kind of things. So the last thing for Ajesh, Ajesh, you are just saying Mohanlal and Mammootty are not actors just because they were not acted in Hollywood.
Mr.
That's
Kiran,
it.
False
please
analogy.
That
don't
is
help.
all.
Kiran,
If
Mr.
Kaipalli can
Kiran,
answer what kind of fallacy that is, okay,
Mr.
that's
it's
all.
Kiran,
a, it's a
don't
Go ahead.
give
false
cock and
analogy,
bull
man.
story here, okay? Please answer to the question. That's all.
This is
We
very
don't
true.
want to hear your cock and bull story here, okay? Please answer
anyway,
to the question. That's all. You said science cannot predict anything in the future, so
Yeah,
please answer.
if science can predict, okay, then you can predict. If science can predict, then you can predict. Shantanu,
Okay, Kiran, that
my
gives us the
question
answer.
was very
That
straight
gives
to
us the
Shantanu,
answer.
and
We can
Shantanu
stop
already
the
said he
whataboutism here,
cannot
Kiran.
predict the science of.
Kiran,
May
thank
I
you. That
answer?
is all.
May
Okay,
I
That is all.
answer?
Thank you. Yeah.
please,
Dr.
Tony,
Abbey, may
please.
I intervene?
So,
Yeah,
excuse me, guys. Sorry, I just have to say
yeah.
one thing because I don't have the luxury of time at the moment. So, the title of today's topic is Science and Pseudoscience. And I was really wondering if anybody who actually practice pseudoscience come here so that we can expose it to the public. And I appreciate Kiran coming with that question. So, his question is whether science can predict the future. And the clear answer is no. We have a lot of uncertainties in the science and it keeps evolving and adjusting. But one thing science can actually do is it can test, validate, and in fact reject, which is wrong. Hear it again, Kiran. When you test and validate, and when you see that it is completely contradicting, you reject it. There was a time when every single person on this earth thought earth was flat. We tested this, we had more evidence, we had more stronger evidence, and we rejected it. Imagine somebody coming today and saying, oh, our full understanding of the universe is incomplete, so earth may not be after all round at all, maybe it's not still flat. So this is exactly the kind of thinking you have.
Ayurveda, the Tridosha and Panchabhuta is utter rubbish, never validated by the current science and rejected. So science has this beautiful thing of evolving, testing hypotheses and rejecting it. What you just said is science is growing. Yes, science is evolving. We cannot predict the way we learn new things. But the beautiful thing about science is it rejects bullshittery. And this is what you have to understand. The Tridosha and Panchabhuta is absolute rubbish. Thank you.
Can
So
I
you think you are the
add a
end of the
point?
world in science, huh? You are
Uh,
huh?
can I
That's what.
add, if you don't mind? Kiran, I just have a question to you because today's discussion is about science and pseudoscience. I mean, I hope you do understand the term pseudoscience. Could you just tell us a few examples of pseudoscience? What exactly is pseudoscience according to your logic? Could you just tell the group over here what exactly is a pseudoscience? Let's keep science aside. Am I audible? Was I
Kiran,
audible?
did you hear the question, Kiran?
Just give us a
What in
few examples of pseudoscience.
what in your words is actually pseudoscience, if you may?
See, basically, there are two things. First of all, uh, just a second, I come back. Just a second, I come back.
That's a toilet flush. Is that the first?
Okay. So basically, your question is about pseudoscience, okay? And I really don't know. That's it. Very simple. I really don't have a definite, a comfortable definition for you. I have no idea. It's I don't have a definite answer for that question.
Okay,
It's
as
high
expected.
time you learn that, Mr.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, pseudoscience is a collection of beliefs or practices mistakenly regarded as being based on a scientific method. For example, Ayurveda. It has no scientific method, so it's a pseudoscience.
That
That's
is
what
your
it is.
version only, AB. That is only your version.
No, that
That
is
is
the
with your
world version. It's
limited
a global
knowledge.
version. That's what is written in the textbooks. You have to read more, I think, Kiran.
Okay, let's move on, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Kiran. I
Next
think
is, I think,
you need.
Manjunath.
Yeah, we need to at least read and understand the term pseudoscience. I think that is more important rather than going to science.
I
We'll
think
go to Manjunath.
we should entertain those who actually do some bit of reading rather than educate people on what science and pseudoscience is.
Can I add on a few
Yeah,
more points to that?
Manjunath. Can we go to Manjunath? He's next in
Yeah.
line.
Sure.
May I speak?
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Okay. Why people practice or follow pseudoscience? To that, my answer would be that people of India are pathologically and negatively prejudiced against modern scientific medicine due to their unmatched abyss of ignorance, coupled with financial constraints and the eternal hope of miraculous elixir from Ayush, only to blame the deaths on clinicians of modern scientific medicine. Hello? Can I continue?
We can hear you. Please continue.
Yeah. So this pseudoscientific practice of multiple medical fields, how do we record them presently? Because my concern was there are multiple pseudoscientific practices everywhere in India. For example, during this COVID time, Ramdev Baba released that coronel. Our in Karnataka, one person Giridhar Kaje, he released something Satmya Bhaumya. So the thing was, they just sold in the open market and were available over the counter. So who took them? What happened afterwards? What were the effects or side effects of them? Nobody knows. So I think the first step to record these pseudoscientific practices or negate them or oppose them or whatever, if we have to tell them they are surely pseudoscience, would be to record them. That is, first establish documentation. Like if somebody has taken coronil, they have to give their some kind of a we have to create some kind of a record. For example, when we when we take vaccine, we are going to record it, we link it to our Aadhaar number. Similar to that, I think this has to be done. We have to record, document each and every uh, medication or prescription given by these pseudoscientific practices also. So can anybody go on with that? Like, how do we record the side effects of pseudoscientific medicine? Is there any method now, and is there any are there any laws to regulate these kind of practices?
Yeah, Manjunath, I think a few very important questions there. I'll take that first question. Why do people opt for pseudoscience? Very important. Why? It's exactly the same reason why we are having these conversations. One is, I mean, you should know what a sunk cost fallacy is. I mean, somebody has already invested in practice of pseudoscience. He has to promote it to survive, and that actually promotion is probably mostly all the time based on belief or faith. That is how they actually lure in people to accept pseudoscience. There is no scientific evidence. So one is sunk cost fallacy, and this happens from the patient's aspect also, because you say, you have to go for the surgery which is life-saving or curative, but it costs this much. If a homeopath or a Ayurveda physician says, just take this herbal medicine, it's only $1,000 and you will get cured, obviously the person will go that side. So that is sunk cost fallacy. Second is confirmation and selection bias. That is very important, because people actually listen to other people's experiences and feel that this is something that is going to work for me, and I don't have to actually pay through my nose to a modern medicine hospital, go to a modern medicine hospital. There is always that fear mongering happening there. So there is a confirmation bias happening. And then there is something known as clustering illusion. So for example, the coronal thing, in that study that Patanjali did, they actually showed that the coronal actually works in asymptomatic patients. That is, patients without any symptoms actually got better. I mean, you don't even need to treat that. But a group of people who actually worship that particular company took up that particular study and then suddenly create an illusion, a clustering illusion, where a lot of people fell for it and sales actually increased for that particular product. So that is known as clustering illusion. So these are the three main things that come to my mind directly, but I think somebody others can add to these points.
Yeah, I think a few more points, probably a bit more wider than that. So I think you asked why people like go for pseudoscientific practices or these kind of medicines. It's mainly because people think what they hear from others, like anecdotes or experiences, are evidence rather than scientific studies. So what people think is whatever they think is actually true. So all of us do that. Our human brains are very, very error prone. So to understand if what we think is true, we should actually think about how human beings think and how error prone is it. So there is something called as cognitive biases, and there are like different cognitive biases. And cognitive biases are like loopholes in your thinking or errors in your logic that can happen because of various factors. So it can happen because of your past experiences, what you hear from others, what you see, your childhood experiences, your knowledge, your lack of knowledge, so many different things. So why we need science is that science is an error correcting mechanism for your thinking. So not your thinking, all of our thinking. So what science is, it's a standardized mechanism to find out truth, so that it takes into account all the possible error factors and try to eliminate it, so that we come up with the best logical explanation to something. So that is why science is important. So I'll just go to quickly to the question asked by Kiran earlier. So lots of people think about science as it's kind of a body of knowledge, or if we know something, it's true forever. So that's not the case actually. So science is a way of thinking about how to reduce our errors in the thinking. So it is an evolving process, and it keeps evolving as our understanding of the world changes. So if we have a new evidence tomorrow saying that, okay, this method is not exactly accurate, we have slightly better method, science will adopt that method, and that becomes science. So when you ask the question, are you able to predict a science in 50 years? Are you thinking that the science is going to be same the next 50 years? No, it is not going to be the same, because in 50 years we'll have much more knowledge about the world, and we would have much more error correcting mechanisms. So science will actually evolve. But science is the best method to know what we actually know.
Can I just add on, if you can hear me?
Yes, go
Hello?
on, please.
Yeah. So basically, the reason why we believe in pseudoscience is basically because that's how we have evolved. we are the our ancestors are the people who actually ran away when they heard a sound in the bushes. It could have been a wind rustling, or it could have been a lion. The people who went to inquire about it, to investigate it, probably ended up at its lunch. So the people who ran away from all these things are the people who are us right now. And the brain is actually it actually takes about 20% of the energy that the body uses. So it's very easy for us to jump into conclusions and arrive at a pseudoscientific reasoning rather than thinking about it or learning about it or going into scientific journals and getting the information. That is one of the reasons why I think that people fall for this pseudoscience. It's very easy. It's how we have evolved. And the second thing about, I don't want to bring this up, but to answer to question that Kiran had raised about science being predictive. Yes, science has been predictive. It's you can just I mean, people who know about the Einstein and Eddington experiment, it was actually a prediction of science which was proved by Eddington. And the general theory of relativity as well. And the same thing happened with the discovery of Uranus and Neptune. Both were mathematically uh, derived before we actually spotted it. So it is wrong to say that science cannot predict, science can predict.
Can I just add one point?
Yes, Pranav, please.
About about why people opt for pseudoscience. It's some people opt for it because of desperation. For example, someone might have a critical illness for which there is no treatment available. uh, at that point they're driven to a point of desperation where they might go to a person who says, okay, if you have faith in God, I can cure your illness permanently. You'll be completely better. So obviously they're gonna choose. They're not gonna wanna care if that method actually works. They're just gonna wanna get rid of whatever predicament they're in. So this desperation is also another reason why people often opt for pseudoscience.
May I
Thank
just
you.
quickly add a point? The reason why people follow any practice or any or stand behind a queue is not because they understand the scientific basis for standing there. People in India are now taking COVID vaccines. It's not because they understand the scientific validity of that vaccine. It's because it has been mandated, because the government has asked them to do it. That is the only reason that they do it, and that is how it should be. If they want to go beyond that, then they have the material they can read and understand. In a country where we have very low literacy and higher education rates, it is the responsibility of the government to take care of their people's public health, and it's not happening. This is the problem here. So when the government doesn't have a policy on public health that they should regulate it in the best possible way, they have introduced pseudosciences, and they have made a ministry to regulate pseudoscience. How ridiculous is that? And that is the question that we should be addressing, probably not here, but at a different level. So uh, why do people go for pseudoscience? Because it's available, because it is made legal. And that is why people go there, not because they understand it, but because it is available.
Nisha, the ministry is not regulating, they are actually promoting. That is the biggest.
Yeah, what I mean is it is legitimized. It's legitimized by the
Exactly,
government.
exactly.
No other government on this planet legitimizes pseudoscience the way this government has.
Okay, so I think now we can move on to Kirit. Kirit, are you
Yeah,
there?
hi, good evening. Good evening to the panel. So, I'm a physician from Andhra Pradesh. I'd like to just bring to your notice some new kind of peddlers of pseudoscience coming in during these, especially COVID times. So, they come with a basic understanding of basic sciences and build up pseudoscience on top of it. Unlike Ayurveda and homeopathy, which totally doesn't have a scientific basis, they start from a scientific base. So There's one guy in Andhra Pradesh whom some of you might be knowing. Uh, he started. He's basically a chemical engineer. So he started during this lockdown time and all. He started reading all the journals which are available online, and he constructed a detailed story from the journals itself. So when somebody confronts him, what is this you're telling? He tells this is science. I'm reading from the same journals from which doctors are reading. So what he actually does is he has somehow managed to find out studies from obscure journals regarding some molecules which claim to be blocking the entry, viral entry, this COVID virus entry into the human body. So these include fenugreek, kalonji seeds, or what else, bromhexin syrup or whatever. And he has built up this elaborate thing. You so-called modern medicine doesn't have an answer, and I brought out an answer from the journals from your which you are reading. So obviously we know the multiple level of logical fallacies there, because these are studies which are obviously published somewhere as a proof of concept, or not even a proof of concept, but as something which can be done. And so people are getting confused because he talks science. He's telling about the mechanism through which this COVID virus enters, and he's proposing a mechanism which these drugs or whatever these remedies are available, like fenugreek or colonges or bromazine syrup or some homeopathy supplements, and he is giving them a mechanism of action. So this is confusing people, and when some doctor confronts them, he and we are all asking, do a randomized controlled trial and publish the result. And he has weird answers to that also. He tells like all journals are corrupt, or our cities can be managed. There is no point in doing all of that. And even for vaccines also, I have seen elaborate forward messages in WhatsApp where they elaborate everything about the vaccine, how it works, what are antibodies, what is mRNA, what is DNA, how the immunity works. It is exactly 100% science. I can vouch for it. But then half through the message, going to the last three-fourths of the message, it turns to complete nonsense. Then they start they give a base of science, and they start going creating castles out of air. Then they keep on telling that this COVID, these antibodies which are created that are deposited in the tissues, and it will alter your DNA and all those things. So we are seeing a new breed of people like this. Any ideas of how to confront them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before
Kirit,
anybody answers that.
just to add to that, I would like to add to that. I mean, Kirit, people should know that this person was actually booked by the police, and a criminal case has been filed against him, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes, there's a criminal case that was filed against him, and I
Yes,
think
yes.
he is taken to the court.
Yes, he was taken into custody, questioned, and criminal case has been filed against this person for spreading misinformation and also selling misleading products for the public.
Yeah. So my question is, when they claim it to be a science and explain with the mechanism of actions, and when they're so confident, and some people are gullible in falling into it, how can we, confront them? That was my question.
Kirit, I have a doubt. In between your statements, you said unlike homeopathy and Ayurveda, which is scientific, his statements don't stand with any on the grounds of science. Is that what you tried to say?
No, those are unscientific. They don't have a scientific principles. That's what I'm telling. But he
Hmm.
constructs from a base of science. Homeopathy and
Which one?
Ayurveda doesn't have a scientific basis.
You're talking about Ayurveda and homeopathy are unscientific.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Now, the only thing here is that they are recognized by a fraternity or a government, and he wasn't. And unfortunately, there was a legal action taken against him.
Yes, yes, there has been the
Whereas,
action taken legally.
whereas
Yeah.
the
See
others
what
are also
Tony.
promoting unscientific modalities of treatment, but since it comes under a banner called Ayush, there is nothing legally being taken against them. That's all.
Yeah, what Kirit was now saying is one of the big tactics of pseudoscience, that they will start talking good science, and in between they will slowly smuggle in their pseudoscientific or absurd ideas, and to give it a so what he is asking is how can we recognize such people. So So this is part of their deception and all. It is very difficult to recognize whether. So one way to verify is don't believe that what all you hear on social media, or and if they quote some references, better we go back and refer those papers they have quoted, see whether they are reliable sources, or those sources are also lifted from any pseudoscientific sources such as that. So verifying the sources of what they claim. Yes. And most of these claims may not be backed by evidence. So the simple way to confront them is that, okay, you have said this much science and you have put forth this claim. Now bring evidence of this claim. So one of the ways of finding them or calling them out is to ask them to bring the evidence of their claim, rather than they will say, I have such a solution for this. They have to bring the evidence for that claim, not only scientific seeming words or scientific what explain. They have to bring evidence for their claim. So we can always demand evidence. So that is what I feel, that how to confront such people who try to deceive us in the guise of science.
I hope it's clear. Let's move on to the next person.
Dr.
I
Abe
think
made
it's a good
a point.
Yeah.
Hello?
Next is Dr. Nitesh.
Dr.
No, I think it's Medico. Sorry, Dr. It's no, it's Medico. Would you like to say something, Medico?
Yes, actually, I didn't expect like it will be like this forum talking about these things. Actually, people are saying everyone know that ICE is total rubbish. But our government is now trying to create a new subject called mixopathy, like introducing eyes to into allopathy doctors and giving eyes doctors also to perform few allopathic procedures. What did you think about it? Is it possible to bring something called mixopathy into real action? And also, they told, actually, I'm a medical college student. They are telling within next 2 years, like in our last final year intense house residency period, we have to take like the allopathic medical college student also have to take 1 month Ayush posting. Like that, they are telling something. Is it possible to create something called mixopathy in India with this current government? And yeah, that's what I want to ask.
Um, we cannot do much on regulatory policies, that is from the government side. But what can happen is that this is going to create a lot more issues in healthcare. Now, if you look at the course curriculum of BAMS, Bachelor's in Ayurvedic Sciences, and sorry, I have to say sciences, but it's how it is, and homeopathy, you can actually see that the books that they have to actually read from their point of view are a few ancient texts. In homeopathy, it is just the organon and the medica, materia medica. Otherwise, the whole 3 or 4 years that they study, they're actually reading a lot of modern medicine textbooks. Anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, everything. They read community medicine. They read a lot of modern medicine textbooks. Now, the problem is that I always say that they have been exposed to a little bit of modern medicine material, and then they are advised to practice the ancient materials, which actually creates a lot of problems. So we have a confused group there. And asking an MBBS student after studies during internship to go and watch an Ayush practice, or spend some time with the Ayush person, I think it is completely a negative aspect, because there are some medical students, we have actually seen a lot of them, who are actually fence sitters. Their grandparents or somebody would have been a homeopath or an Ayurvedic physician. They have such that emotional attachment to those kind of things, and if they actually go there and see what is happening, and they might actually believe that this is really true, and they might actually mix these things, and they can actually harm people more, patients more. So I think the whole aspect of internship, I think if people go in with a strong scientific mind, they'll know that this is pseudoscience, finish your posting, get the signatures, and come out. But I don't know other than that how to handle it from a normal person point of view. I think Apurva can add to this if you have something to say, Apurva, about MBBS students training in Ayush.
I think, like you said, handling it from a student's perspective, probably that's the best thing to do. Just go there and see what you should not do when you become a doctor, and how the Ayush practices, which are not based on evidence, are actually harming the society than actually helping them. But I hope at some point the government realizes what they're doing and shuts down these pseudoscience which is being legitimized by the Ayush ministry. I feel sometimes bad for people who are like admitted into these medical colleges, saying that, I mean, who are made to believe that they are into some kind of science which isn't actually true. But hope more and more people, as like the awareness increases, realize that this is not actual science and get out of it and actually do some science rather than involving in a whole lifetime of propagating pseudoscience.
Dr. Shantanu, you were blinking. Would you like to add something?
Certainly, what I would like to say is that the whole discussion is being focused on Ayush, but then modern medicine also has its own share of pseudoscientific practices. And not everything in modern medicine is clean and proved. And of course, like people everywhere, so also in modern medicine, there are commercial interests. As far as my specialty is concerned, just to give an example, I'm an obstetrician and a gynecologist. We have very simple and very cheap iron preparations, but then I always find that the practitioners will go ahead with the so-called modern, newer, and better to ourselves, and also understand that modern medicine practitioners and regulators also need some introspection and do follow certain practices which are not very welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Dr. Shantanu, I would like to add that, I mean, definitely your point is very important, but that does not fall into pseudoscience, but that actually falls into unethical practice. Like, for example, take the issue of hydroxychloroquine or azithromycin, which has actually been given for COVID. So that is not pseudoscience. There is some evidence that in cell lines it works, but there is no evidence in the clinical side that it doesn't. There is evidence. So you're not supposed to give it, but people still give it. So that is actually unethical practice. That is not pseudoscience. That is no evidence. That is no evidence based practice. Pseudoscience, I think we have to look at the principles, which is what we are discussing now. The principles of that particular practice is completely out of the completely out of the blue. You cannot explain anything out of it in current healthcare practice. That is what we are going to discuss. But I think this topic that you mentioned, we should take it up at some point.
I
Thank you.
would also like to add that, see, in scientific, if you are when practicing scientific medicine, we can devise regulations and control mechanisms to prevent such malpractice using scientific basis. But in pseudoscience, this is not at all possible. We cannot measure the or assess the toxicity of any drug, or whether we cannot determine the rationale of using or a justification of using a certain alternative medicine in certain conditions. There is no way of it. But in modern scientific medicine, we will have ways of verifying this and finding out whether some malpractice has happened or not. But the danger with the pseudoscience is that this regulatory mechanism is almost impossible, and that is what we see today, and that is leading to a lot of the losses to human life and health. I think we should not see these things in the same light. Of course, your point is well taken, but that could be classified into malversation. See, commercial interests are driving almost all practice of medicine, but uh, there is a difference between justified practice, unjustified practice, and completely bogus practice. So I would like to point that, add that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is exactly
True,
what
true,
it
true.
is,
Agreed, agreed,
Matthew.
agreed
Perfect.
completely. And I must also say that we need science to decide what is pseudoscience.
That's right. Can we go to the
Pseudoscience
next
per se
question?
has decided that it is science, but we need science to decide what is pseudoscience.
I think we can go to Dr. Nitesh. Would you like to say something, Dr. Nitesh? Can you hear us?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. One second. Huh? So, Dr. Phillips, thanks for leading this discussion. This has been a very lively, very rich discussion. I've been in and out, so I missed some of the discussion, but I hope you can continue this series. Like, it sounds like an introduction, so you can, I don't know what you're planning, but I hope this continues in the future. Um, I will. So I'm a medical doctor. I did MBBS in India, and I did MD medicine in US. I've been practicing in US for 10 years. So that's my background. And yeah, I there's a lot of points have been made, and I agree with a lot of points. I'll talk to people like who are layperson and explain to them and try to tell them a few points, if I may. Um, so I think people need to understand one of the criticisms we face is that we are scientists and we you know we are on a pedestal. We are not listening to the common public, the common grievance, and we are just we live in our world of this that we talk about is evidence, and we're just fixated on that, and so we are like we are too proud, and we're not understanding the common people's problem, and that's sometimes an opening for the quackery. That these people exploit those weaknesses, and I feel it's actually the opposite. The all the people, like all the doctors here, all the people who are talking about evidence-based medicine, we're talking about evidence-based medicine because we're actually very humble here. We understand that a human body is very complex. Um, Dr. Phillips, who's a liver specialist, he's not sitting. Sorry, I'm giving an example, but he's not sitting at his home and making up theories and making up medicine and trying to fix liver problems. He's actually promoting science and evidence, and that there's a reason because of that. Because the best of the doctors can think about ideas, and we can have which will make complete sense at that time. Everybody would agree that sounds like a very good idea to treat this problem, and we should do that. But in the but then it
Dr.
comes a
Mitesh,
point
could
that
you raise your voice, please?
okay, is this it?
Yeah, go on, please.
So I think so we can have a lot of ideas which we think will make sense, but then until we do an experiment, until we compare a group like an intervention group like what we are doing and then we are not doing and comparing, we cannot be sure. I'll give a small example. Um, I tell my patients who don't believe much in randomized controlled trial, like in 1980s. There's a disease called congestive heart failure when the heart muscles are weak, and doctors believe that whenever the muscles are weak of a heart, the best way to treat is to make it stronger, like give medicines which is going to make it beat faster. And that was the consensus. That used to be, what the medical treatment was. But then when the trials were done and we compared this treatment with not doing anything, we found that we are actually um, harming people. People are dying more often if we are actually doing something which actually makes sense. Like clinically, it makes sense. A weak heart should be made stronger. And now the treatment is actually opposite. Like we try to give medicines which slow the heart, which makes it beat slower. So basically my point is like people who promote evidence, who promote science, they are very humble. They understand the human body is very complex, and I think before that there was a point being made about people getting these proof of concept or obscure journals, and so those are like all these ideas which come up, but because they haven't been rigorously tested, they we hesitate. We don't want to we don't want to do any harm. We don't want to try a treatment which hasn't been proven. So that's what we mean by evidence-based medicine. There was a point being made earlier about can science predict can you predict the science? On the contrary, like science is to predict the future. Like if I know a treatment which is scientifically proven and I offer the patient, I know that they're going to get better, and that they're going to get better, the chance of that would be higher than just random chance. So that's the key point. People would say, I gave you a medicine and you got better, but again, human body is complex. People can get better on their own. There could be other confounding factors. So that's why we need a comparison. That's why we talk about these trials, not just because we like to, but because we have to, because we've learned from our mistakes. That's another point. The modern medicine. If you see all the side effects of our medicines or all the complications, it's just we find ourselves and we are ready to accept the mistakes, and we are ready to learn from that. Even the vaccines, any side effects, it's been looked into. The vaccines are halted, so we have like inbuilt safety nets to look at how we practice. So that's just my appeal to patients, to look at that. Again, nothing is perfect. There is unethical, there is and like Dr. Phillips said, there's unethical practices. There are there are like there are using branded medicines when generic medicines. So we have a modern medicine. Um,
has a lot of problems in terms of practice. It's like there are different kinds of people in world. But the actual science should not be discredited because of that. And I'm in US, and like the problem which you're seeing, everybody in India, this is like a common, like a world problem. Like in US actually it's a much a different problem, because I think Kirit, if I'm saying the right name, he was
എടാ
talking about
ആ ഡോക്ടറിന്റെ പേരെന്താ ഒരു ഡോക്ടർ സംസാരിക്കുമല്ലോ ഹോമിയോ
he was talking about pseudo, some people like in US, they read up some of the articles, and they don't understand the confounding factors. They're limited understanding. And if you go into some rooms which are anti-vaccine or anti standard treatment, it's very difficult to argue, because they're using evidence based but in the wrong way. So I think it's a worldwide problem. And lastly, I would say, the Ayurveda, and there's some good ideas. There's some good ideas which have to be brought to mainstream, which have to be tested. The most effective anti-malarial drug came from traditional Chinese medicine, artemisinin. But again, the government did like 20 years of research, and there's a story about the person who won Nobel Prize because of that discovery. But that takes a lot of effort from government to do that kind of research and find, because the effects are going to be seen after 10, 20 years, and that's we want to see right away things. But it's like there's a lot of wealth of knowledge in tradition, but it has to be trialed. It has to be proven safe. It has to be proven effective, and then it can be accepted. Like in US, we now use acupuncture because acupuncture has shown studies, there's no harm and it can help. So now doctors are, so it's what I'm saying is, we are humble, we are not closed-minded, we are open-minded, but there's a process, and there's a reason why there's a process. That's basically my point here. But Dr. Phillips and everyone, there's the road from pseudoscience and science is quite treacherous, quite difficult, because in US some people are they are talking about evidence based, they're talking about trials, but again, they're picking up small trials, obscure trials. So that actually is more challenging to discuss with them, because they are using evidence-based medicine in a wrong way, and that is it's a huge issue to explain to them why this study, because this was another medicine, or like you said, the coronel was used on asymptomatic patients, so why it cannot be used for patients who are on moderately disease. So those kind of subtleties are very difficult to
Uh,
talk to common people. Yeah.
going. I think we need to stop it up.
Yeah, Tony, I think
Sorry.
I'll just make a few points and then move on to the
Sorry.
next person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm done speaking. Go ahead.
Before that,
Yeah.
Abby, I was just going through the profiles, and on board we have one Mr. Manish Patil, who's a spiritual healer working in the field of cancer cure. So I would be more interested to hear from him, if you don't mind, and if the other speakers permit me, I could just skip over to Manish.
Yeah, I'll just make a note on the acupuncture with Dr. Nitesh was talking about. Actually, acupuncture is also a pseudoscientific practice. All the principles of acupuncture are based on pseudoscience, and there is no evidence to show that it is actually recommended or effective for any medical condition. Actually, if you look at some of the meta-analysis that has come out in 2018, 19, 20, and 21, in many journals, a lot of meta-analysis shows that acupuncture studies are poorly done, methodologically flawed, and we don't have any solid data to actually recommend it for anything. I myself have done a meta-analysis and given a correspondence to American Journal of Gastroenterology, where we have shown that acupuncture is absolutely not useless in conditions like constipation and functional bowel disease. So acupuncture, we need more data. We cannot recommend it. It is still a pseudoscientific practice. I think now we can move on, Tony, to the next person.
If you don't mind, can I invite Mr. I think Manish is blinking. Manish.
Okay.
I shall come to after. In fact, it was Steffi, Abhishek, and Tim, but I'm just going to Manish. I apologize for that. I'll get back to you guys soon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tony and panelist, for giving me this opportunity to speak here. The intention of my coming to this room is not to disturb the room, because the nature of practice I do as an amateur practitioner is opposite to what the topic of this discussion over here. But being a student of science, so I always kept my mind open, and I'm much I was into physics and computer science, so that is my background, where I am working as an IT professional. But at the same time, I also came across some spiritual practices by coincidence, and initially Means that was a long time back. Then initially I was skeptical about it, and I was not ready to accept it, being a student from the science background. But then I decided to actually keep my means mind open and see why it is being practiced by so many people. So I eventually learned from some trainers some practices, and then I come to know that there was some substance to it, at least. So it was not possible for me to tell everyone that this is to be this can be practice or something like that. So I decided to do my own experiment. So I tried some few experiments on various ailments like diabetes, because my dad was suffering from diabetes. So that's one of the reason why I decided to target particular ailment with the this what we call as energy healing or something like that. There are many names to it, there are many modalities. So I'm the practitioner of energy I know it is causing. So I study the modern medicine to understand the cause of it, and I come to know that actually it's a gastrointestinal issue, and it's caused due to the gastrointestinal problems, and not due to the malfunction of the endocrines. So I did experiments on my dad, where I tried to heal his intestinal system. So and then I checked what was the result. So I found that there was some improvement. In fact, there was quite an improvement. So I decided that, yeah, this is there is some substance to it, and I am getting some results with it. I tried it on multiple people.
Hang
I
on,
tried it
hang
on.
on, hang on. So, are you licensed to practice medicine?
No, I tried it with my family only. So I don't think I
No,
need
no, no.
practice.
You don't have any right to try it on your family also. They're human
Your
beings,
family,
right?
you
No, yeah,
cannot make human.
but I think I am not supposed to give any medicine, right? But I did not give any medicine to my anyone.
No,
Now, any
Manish,
intervention, any intervention.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. This is some kind of a. This is not
Denying
medicine.
people proper medical care is also a wrong thing.
I understand and I respect it, but I
Yeah. Could you
even I
explain
did.
this? Could you explain this healing method? I mean, you mentioned something, and
Yeah, yeah.
energy something.
Please try to actually understand it before actually putting your accusations, because I am not
No, no, we are
trying
trying
to.
to. We are trying to. Could you please explain it so we can?
Yeah, the method I use is quite means proprietary, which was taught to my guru only, because he developed it over quite a long period of practices, and he taught me because he thought I was a sincere student of him. So what I did was
Manish, I need
yeah.
to cut. I want you to enlighten the group what is written on your profile: a spiritual healer working in the field of cancer cure. So, enlighten us about cancer cure through spiritual healing.
Okay, I will go to that point. I was just answering to the earlier question. So what I was doing, so what I did was, did was I just tried to simulate his digestive system with the spiritual healing. Means where we carry out what we call as a energy detoxification. It is not as a physical level, and I checked the result with glucometer and all. I kept it on checking for a few days, and then I realized that his blood sugar level was improving. It was coming to the normal level, which it was not earlier. Never it was that level. So I got some results there. So that got me interested, and I'm happy that my father is now quite healthy, and his diabetes quite almost under control. Okay, so you have next question. Hello.
So
Hello.
Yeah. The question is this: what is this spiritual healing? I mean, you didn't explain that. We would like to
Yeah,
know how this
yeah.
healing
I will
and
explain it in a
how
short.
you.
Yeah, I will explain it in shortest way. So the kind of healing which I practice is where It is believed that there are certain energies, the subtle energies in the body,
What energy?
which are I can say it is how we can call it a prana shakti.
What is prana
How do you
shakti?
measure this? How
Wait,
do you
Tony. He said
quantify
he
this?
is a student of physics, so he might be able to explain what energy is much better than any of us.
Yeah, there are multiple energies in the universe, and we know that
Explain.
Explain,
for example,
please.
dark energy is not still not detectable by the modern methods of
So how do you know it exists?
because where scientists has carried out
No,
experiment on
you said there is energy, but
yeah,
and you're also saying it cannot be detected. Then
be-
how do you know it exists?
it is not detected by the modern sensory machines. That's what I was said. But there are other methods where it can be sensed in certain ways. That's what I
If
How?
it
said.
cannot be found out with the tools of science, and then how do you call it science?
See, if you are, if as you have all you have a science background, you must be knowing about the dark energy there, which are these
Dark energy, dark energy is not proven. Dark matter is
but
proven. Dark
it is
energy is
play
not proven.
See,
its
Nishad,
existing is
let me ask him. Manish, see, when you say that this cannot be detected, it means that it will not interact with any instrument or with our body or with our senses. If something is not interacting with that is one explanation for dark matter. It is not interacting with any other particle or any other force in this universe. So, if such a thing exists, how can you think it will affect our body? It is not interacting with any of our cells or it is not interacting with any molecules. That is why we cannot detect it. If it is interacting with any of the atoms and molecules, we can definitely detect it. If you claim that it cannot be detected, that means it is not interacting with anything. Then how will it affect any body condition?
Dark energy is a hypothesis. It's not. It has never been detected.
Yeah,
So
it may
you
not
are
be dark
saying you
energy.
have
Whatever
detected. Hang
energy,
on.
if it is not interacting with anything, how can he claim that it is interacting with the body and healing disease? I think he's
No, this is
making
next
a
year
tall claim
November.
there.
He's
no.
identified dark energy. This is
Uh,
Yeah,
very
let,
very
let, let,
serious.
let him
let me
speak, Nishad. Manish, speak.
yeah. So what I said was the instruments which are created by science to detect various energies, these are not sensitive enough to detect certain energies. That's what I said. I'm not
So,
saying that
what
it
are the
is.
other instruments you used? What are the other
We can simply
methods?
sense it with our
May I ask
hand. We can sense it with
a
hand. Because our hands
question,
are
please?
sensitive enough to sense it.
Your
May I
hands
ask a
are more
question, Tony,
sensitive than the
please?
most sensitive devices invented by science. Is that what you're?
No, I'm saying that these devices are not they are not reach that point where they can sense it. Actually, they are
So
not
your
Now,
hand
sensitive
is
enough.
made of matter. Hang on. Your hand
Nishad,
is made of matter. So how does this interact with matter? This energy, it has to interact with matter. Is it
Yeah, it
heat?
is
Is it
interacting with.
radiation?
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
how do
actually
you sense it?
yeah. It's actually
Manish, you have
yeah.
already made a statement here that the most sophisticated tools of current science cannot detect it, but it can be detected with our bare hands. Is that right?
Yeah. That is what I
Okay.
So
practically
is it
Okay.
practically
possible that
experienced.
this sensation of this energy is a figment of your imagination? Did you rule that possibility out, being a man of science? Because we know
Yeah.
that the
Initially, I was skeptical. Initially, I was
easiest person
skeptical.
to deceive is ourselves, right? The
Definitely,
easiest thing
definitely.
in science to
Yeah,
deceive is oneself, ourself.
yeah.
So what
Now,
kind of
please.
objective data do you have to rule out the bias created by the researcher?
Yeah.
Or do you understand the term that experiences can be deceptive?
Yes, it can be deceptive. If you know the history of the science, there was one time in the history of the science where this scientific practice and research itself was a practice like a pseudoscience. That's when these people came into
Let's
action
stick on.
and
Let's
and
stick
and
on. Let's stick on to
But
this one.
today it is not. But
yeah,
today,
yeah. So that's what I
today,
was saying, that maybe
no, a
we are at
thousand
a
years
point.
ago, 1,000 years ago, we were running around without clothes. But today, we don't. So that doesn't count.
Yeah,
right?
that was
Yeah.
not
Let's
long time
talk
back, or
about
just a
today.
few decades
Today,
back. That was the
today we
situation.
have very sophisticated devices to sense all kinds of radiation, all sorts of waves, particles, you name it. We can sense all that. So
Okay.
why can't we sense this energy?
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Now,
not the
since
dark energy and the dark matter, because even the science has proved that the dark there
No,
is the existence of
please,
dark matter.
please don't
Otherwise,
bring science.
these
Please don't
these
bring science. The dark
no, I'm
energy
not
is a
blaming it.
hypothesis.
No, dark matter is not the hypothesis. There is clear
Dark
evidence
matter is.
that
I said dark
without
energy. Dark
dark
energy.
energy and
Dark
dark matters are
energy.
two different
Dark
things. If
energy.
you know the
Dark
uh,
energy.
astrology, if you have the knowledge of astrology, you will know that
now again
there is dark
you're
matter.
going from another
Astrology.
pseudoscience. You're going to the next
One
one.
from
Okay.
one pseudoscience to the.
Nishad, 1 minute. I want to ask you just one more question before I make my statement. You again said you're a spiritual healer working in the field of cancer cure. Which
Yeah.
cancer did you cure, and how many cases are there on the record?
Actually, I'm still researching on in this field, and because it's a very
So
complicated
you
and
haven't cured
quite
any cancer
challenging.
patients so far.
Yes, I have done it. I
Which
have done
case?
it. I have.
Explain to us. Uh, what happened? I
No,
think he
I
got
think he
disconnected.
got disconnected.
Anyway,
We'll call him back.
Okay, can I add one
yeah.
thing here
Anyway,
for the audience? For the audience, see,
yeah.
one
I was going to say
characteristic
that,
of
Matthew.
pseudoscience, just for the audience, how to recognize pseudoscience. One characteristic
Yeah, this
here
was just an
is
exercise.
this:
This was
he
just an
is making, yeah, he is making a claim of an invisible energy, which cannot be detected by anything. So actually, what he is doing here is what we call an unfalsifiable theory, a theory which cannot be falsified. So this is one of the characteristics of pseudoscience. They have their base in unfalsifiable things. They can make any thought. It cannot be substantiated by normal science. So this is something special, and so it has to be accepted on their word. So this is one of the the red flags you should tag when you hear things. Anybody making an unfalsifiable claim is probably peddling pseudoscience. So that is what I wanted to
For
convey to the.
for example, I have a dragon in my balcony, which I can sense. Nobody else can detect. No tools of science can detect. And I know that it can communicate with me. I can communicate with it. But nobody has any kind of evidence. I cannot provide any evidence for it. But I know for a fact that this dragon exists. And if we have a very good relationship, it will do whatever magic I want. But you can't prove it. It doesn't exist. You cannot prove that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, so this was just a demonstration of a simple exercise for the new folks who joined in here. This is how you break or debunk a pseudoscience. Can we go to the next person, Abby?
We have a Vivek here, if no, if you don't mind. We have Vivek, who is a homeopath. I would like him
But
to get in.
Nishad, I just would
Yeah,
like to
I
go to
think
Tim.
Abhishek was next, and then Tim.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So just yeah, they've been waiting for quite some time.
Yeah.
Abhishek.
Hi, everybody. Actually, I had a question about like ivermectin. Does it have any clinical evidence of effectiveness on COVID? If it has, then why it is not that popular or very popularly like advertised? So that was one of my questions. And another question was is Ayurveda completely pseudoscientific, or some branches of it are pseudoscientific, or like how much of it is pseudoscientific? That's what my question was. Please
Yeah,
explain.
101%.
I'll take this answer, Abhishek. So the first question, I mean, it does not fit into our theme, but I'll still answer it. Please read the WHO Cochrane collaboration meta-analysis that was recently published about a week back on ivermectin, which very clearly states that ivermectin has no clinical role, no clinical benefit, no clinical benefit in improving survival or reducing mortality or improving clinical symptoms or prevention of COVID in the current pandemic situation. So ivermectin is very good for deworming. Please use that in your clinical practice to deworm everyone every 6 to 12 months, and that is the best role for ivermectin. So there is no point in prescribing ivermectin. It is an anti-worm tablet. Second question is about Ayurveda. Now we call Ayurveda as a pseudoscience, and there is absolutely no doubts about it. Whatever branch of Ayurveda you take, so you have Kaya Chikitsa, which is actually Ayurvedic internal medicine. Then you have Agada Tantra and all that, which is Ayurvedic toxicology and medical jurisprudence and all that. So you take any branch of Ayurveda, everything actually fits into the basic foundations of Ayurvedic principles of Tridoshas and Panchabhutas, which is actually very pseudoscientific. There is no evidence that Tridoshas exist. We can measure it, just like the dragon story and the energy healing story that you heard before. There is no evidence that none of these actually exist. Vata, Pitta, Kapha, these are non-existential. You cannot actually measure them or treat them, or it's all principle wise. These are all completely nonsensical, which is why, yes, Ayurveda is a pseudoscience, and there is no doubt about it.
Okay, thank you. And one question is like, if ivermectin does not have any clinical evidence, then why they have been used in hospitals, like to treat
Yeah,
COVID
so this
patients?
was the discussion we had before, where we talk about rational use of medicines, judicial
Okay.
justified use of medicines. I mean, the whole point is that literacy is not equal to scientific literacy, right? General literacy is not equal to scientific literacy. And I think we have practitioners who are not scientifically literate enough, or does not have that scientific temper to understand that new evidences come, and you are supposed to actually listen to new evidences and then forgo your old evidences. So that is not happening now. It has to come from an authority. That is why a lot of people depend on authority in India, which is why all these things happen very slow here. But yes, ivermectin has no role, and one should not prescribe it for COVID.
Okay. Thank you, Abby.
We can move on to Tim.
Is next. Hi all. I think Mr. Kaipali is already brushed on the topic for Aish. So I just asked this question to Kaipali itself. So Kaipali, we know all that these many medical practices under Ayush is not scientifically proven. Where I say scientifically proven, we know that there is a methodology to create, manufacture, advertise something called as medicine. Why the state is promoting this as a medicine? Is it purely on a sentimental or emotional basis, that it's government's job now become to safeguard these practices even though it is unscientific?
Okay, it's a good question. It's been answered several times before. In India, we have 54% quacks, and that is all forms of quackery. That includes modern medicine, homeopathy, tribal medicine. You put everything together, we have 54%. There are fifth standard fails who are practicing modern medicine, and the practice of all kinds of half-baked Ayurveda is also widespread. So the government has to regulate this, and Ayush was one of the policies that they came out with so that they could regulate this. And in the northern part of India, we do have lots of um, homeopaths who actually work in government hospitals dispensing modern medicines to patients, because we don't have that many doctors. We have one doctor to 1,470 patients. That is one doctor to 1,470 patients. That's pretty, spreading it very thin. We don't have the manpower to deal with all our patients, and with COVID, it gets even worse. So we need to have hands, and this is the reason that these people who could not make it to MBBS had to be accommodated. And that is one part of the story. The second part is there is a huge emotional attachment to this, as you rightly said. There is cultural elements to this. There is political elements to this. Ayurveda and yoga, they have a lot of you know um, religious angles to it, and there's a lot of appeal to the public has a general appeal to these things. They don't see it as pseudoscience; they see it as part of their culture, and then it goes into their you know into their system. It is part of the Indian system to accept these and move along. That's the truth.
Thank you. In fact, we're running a bit short time, so requesting all to make it a bit brief. Dr. PKS?
I must thank Abhi for doing this activity. It is very important at this point. I should make some comments regarding why pseudoscience is happening, because we forgot one thing, that modern medicine has evolved from Greek medicine, Persian medicine, which Avicenna propagated, and then even from Ayurveda and even Chinese. All these principles were taken, adapted into modern medicine, and I don't see why there is a reason to think of going back to these ancient systems, because modern medicine evolved from all these. Then the placebo effect is the one which actually it's on that only the homeo practice is surviving. And but there is another side to it. The modern medicine doctors do not advocate on diet and lifestyle modification, which they do. And the advantage they give to the patient is purely by partial modification of diet and lifestyle plus some placebo. That is what they do. And the arsenicum album coronil tablet all had an effect because 90% of patients did not have any problems. We did not focus on these 90% who recovered properly. That is pseudoscience on the part of modern medicine. We actually ignored them and we concentrated only on the very sick patients. That is what happened, and that is why they got an advantage to try coronil and arsenicum album. We could have actually countered it by trying just diet and lifestyle and simple measures and rest at home rather than testing all of them and making them patients. That is what has happened with us. Then coming to the some Abhi has mentioned that in between, I had personally seen several patients developing hepatotoxicity with diabetes tablets which contain copper sulfate, copper prepared from a natural source, and another patient developing Cushing's syndrome like presentation due to treatment with an Ayurvedic asthma medicine. And then you see several others pseudoscientists coming with alkaline diet, keto diet, alkalinizing the water, because they say that the body pH is alkaline. So if you take alkaline water, so much things are going on. All these are happening because we have forgotten to build a base for modern medicine to educate the public. That is the general practitioner or family doctor is missing in this country, and that is why that space is being occupied by the all these kind of pseudoscientific people. Like for example, somebody was talking about diabetes. In fact, it is very easy to control diabetes with the diet and lifestyle modification, which some modern medicine doctors are not practicing. And that vacuum again is occupied by the pseudoscientific people. And we are giving space for them. So let us also build a base for modern medicine with a large number of general practitioners or family doctors, as in Canada, Scandinavian countries, Australia, all the other countries have it. We have forgotten to build that. That is where the mixopathy comes. Why mixopathy is coming? Because the government has identified it as a very good way to promote Ayush, because they are influenced by the Ayush people. And again, they are growing in that vacuum only. So to counter that, the one point we need all to think of is to start family medicine training or general practice training in the medical colleges by making mandatory to have a department of family medicine in all the medical colleges. And that way, if you promote family medicine and build a strong base for modern medicine, that's the only way to counter the pseudoscience of the Ayush. As Kaiparli was telling, it is that cultural and religious bias towards Ayurveda and Homeo is still there, and it cannot be countered by any other means. This is something which we need to discuss very seriously and come out with the solutions, and we need to work for it. And that is what that's why I joined to discuss when I listened to the initial talks. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Abby, anything to add on, or shall I go to the next speaker?
Yeah, I mean, there was one point where we have to understand that I'm not very clear about that modern medicine evolution aspect from traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and all that, because I think the whole point of modern medicine evolution was that we were prepared to bring down these nonsensical theories. And that is what happened. And I don't think we actually borrowed anything from these humoral theories and all that. We were ready to experiment. And that is how all of this practices came into being as evidence based. So I think, speaking from purely science based point of view, evolution of actual science based medicine is not from all the pseudoscientific practices, but actually something completely different from it. The thought, the logic, the reasoning, the testing, the experiment, the replication, the reproducibility, and again retesting to see if it still holds. And that is how modern medicine evolved, but not actually from principles of pseudoscientific practices, if I may add, as per
Yeah,
the history of medicine.
No,
yeah.
it is
To
not
my knowledge,
principles
to
of
my knowledge,
pseudoscience. Please.
when William Osler made a protocol or guideline for the modern medicine. I mean, to my knowledge, I don't know whether he borrowed anything from Ayurveda or Chinese medicine or any of these alternate practices that existed at that time.
No, it is not borrowing. That is the observations give you when you observe some practice, you find that there is some effect, and then that principle is experimented and then accepted into modern medical practice. That is how it evolved. It's very clearly written in history of medicine. If you go through that, you will find it.
Yeah, exactly. I can give you one example on this. I mean, if we have just 1 minute, if you look at artemisinin, artemisinin was actually used, centuries ago for fevers, not for malaria, but for fever. And what happened was that about 70 or 80 years back, the People's Liberation Army, the Chinese army, made a medical team and tested all the herbals that were actually found to reduce fever in traditional Chinese medicine, and they actually went and tested each of these compounds that they found were actually suitable for reducing fever, and then came to artemisinin as the one that actually reduced malaria, that actually cured malaria or treated malaria. So that methodology is actually not a principle of pseudoscientific practice, but the thought and the logic behind it to go and test it. That was actually modern medicine, and that is actually totally different from what observation is, because observation still holds, because you can actually see that there are so many herbs still given by Ayurvedic physicians for fever, and they have no clue what those herbs contain, and they say it reduces fever. That fever might go off without the herbs also. So the observation is stuck in time for these practices, and modern medicine actually did not evolve from that. Actually, modern medicine was actually ready to go away from that thought and go into testing, which is actually missing in the pseudoscientific principles.
I would like to add that when you consider the history of Western medicine, see, for almost 1,300 years, nobody questioned the works of Galen, especially regarding to anatomy. He based his observations on studies on animals. So it was for almost 1,300 years, it was unquestioned until Andre Vesalius came and said that these are all based on animals. How can it be equated to humans? And he actually encouraged the practice of human dissection. And from there on, we started having a clear view on anatomy. After that comes William Harvey, who deduced the circulatory system based on his observations and experiments. And by that time, when they realized that the anatomy and physiology of the human body to a great extent it was different from what has been observed and written till that time, what Western medicine did was sweep these things under the carpet. They didn't think about it, they threw it in the dustbin. And from then on, only the practice of modern medicine began to take what after that germ theory came, antisepsis and things like that, then antibiotics. From there on, from that point till that point where all these theories were uh, held so preciously, there was not much development. Once these bullshit theories were thrown away, medicine started to grow in leaps and bounds. That is what we learned from history. So as long as you hold on to unscientific principles and outlandish theories, that is not going to develop.
Thank you, Matthew. I shall go on to the next speaker. I think that is Vivek or Saif.
Saif. I think Saif was.
Saif.
Hello, thank you. Uh, I have a short question, and I I want to explain why I asked that question. The question is, evolutionary, are we like more biased to choose a pseudoscience? Why I asked is, we humans, we always like to follow a large group or a charismatic figure or a leader, uh, instead of rationally thinking or spending too much time and energy on thinking and making a rational decision. Uh, so that's what my question. Yeah, can anybody answer?
Yeah, as may I?
Yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
Kaipati, please.
Yes.
See, as a species, we are a communal animal, and we like to follow leaders in order to not spend too much energy using our brain, like our important parts of the brain, which is the more evolved part of the human brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. So we tend to follow leaders, and the more instinctive thing to do is not think too much, because somebody else is doing thinking for you. This is the fundamental reason why we follow certain people, and ask for knowledge and ask for information rather than go and find it yourself, because finding knowledge and reading papers and doing studies and going through research papers is tedious. You need to spend time, you need to understand the language. It's better to like listen to somebody and just get on with it, because a lot of people are standing there. It's just like choosing a restaurant. You would choose a restaurant that is more busy than go to a restaurant that is not busy. It's common sense. So that is what is happening. I just try to explain it as simple as possible. There is something called type 1 and system 1 and system 2 thinking. So system 1 thinking is like follow the leader, don't spend too much energy thinking, just get on with it. System 2 is more energy, um, you know, uh, s- uh, depleting process of thinking, where you need to analyze, compute, and do a whole bunch of things. And that is rarely used by people. We trust so the trust thing is misused in this case. I hope I'm clear.
Uh, Yes. So by default, we can fall for like a charismatic leader comes and say that I have
Naturally, yes.
I have all the answer for you. Uh, uh, so without asking, spending some time on this evidence or thinking, you
Yeah,
just
and
fall
it is
for it.
exasperated by a system of education that doesn't discourage. That discourages the questioning attitude in children. The Indian education system, asks you to obey, to submit, to listen, and not ask. So that is the culture where you are subjugated perpetually when you're a child, or when you're and if it's a woman, it's completely it's absolutely worse. But even if it's a man, uh, till you reach a level, you're not supposed to ask any questions. So that's the way the education system is. And there's a lot going on there, but I'm not going to go.
Okay. Do you have some suggestion like how we can
It's beyond the
overcome?
scope of this session. It's outside the scope of this particular.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Saif.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But in the coming
Vivek,
days, we can do that. In the coming days, we may be able to do that. Yes, thank
yeah, yeah. We will be doing that.
Yep. Hello.
Vivek, yeah. Hi, Vivek. Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening. I'm. Let me introduce myself. I heard someone introducing me as a homeopath. No, I am not a homeopath. I am a lawyer. But I found this topic interesting, so I turned into this room. Uh, Maybe I am actually not a homeopath, but I am a homeopathy follower. I am a strong follower of homeopathy. I My point is that uh, homeopathy. You say this is pseudoscience or something, but then if someone has proved you that homeopathy cures, then what is the issue? I am a total layman. I am not a medical person. I am a lawyer. I am an HR professional, and I am an engineer too. So I am not into the scientific part of it, but then still I believe in homeopathy because it has proved me. I was not a believer of homeopathy, but a homeopathy practitioner, in fact it is my wife itself, she proved me wrong. I was not when I married her, I was not a believer of homeopathy, but then she has proved it the other way. She has cured many issues to me. I have actually I was I mean a follower of allopathy for the past, I mean from my birth to almost my 27 years of age. I'm now 38. For the past 11 years I am homeopathy. So I have had many issues like back pain means sciatica. I think you know sciatica, nerve compression or something. uh, I went to an allopathy, in fact Aster medicine medical, Aster hospitals here. They told me that it will I will have to go through a surgery of around 2.5 lakhs. Then I actually I was not in a financial situation to take so much of money. My wife asked me, let me give me a chance and I will cure it, she told me. And I gave 1 month time. I am perfectly all right now. It has been 4 years after having that issue. I am perfectly all right. I have not done any surgery. I have gone through her medical medicines, and it has cured fully. I'm not having any issue of my of
Thank
back
you.
pain.
Okay. Thank you,
So
Vivek.
yeah.
Yeah, done. Let me thank you that you came out of allopathy and then you started homeo after marriage. In fact, that's a very good move that you did, because allopathy, though it is not there in the modern medical world, it is still being
Mhm.
practiced in Ayurveda, because all those kind of crap things like bloodletting and induced diarrhea and all those things. So it's a very good thing. At least you've been having some cotton candies from homeopathy, but. What you told about Aster. Currently, Aster does not propagate, or they don't have anything called allopathy currently in Aster. It is just the modern medical science they have there. Now, I think one of the homeopathic ex-homeopathic doctors like Shantanu or somebody would want to answer or address this, or would you want me to make the statement? Abby or Shantanu can give an answer.
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Shantanu, can you please?
Hello.
Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Shantanu, please. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Shantanu. See, this is a very common argument, and we meet so many people citing their own experience, and they're very sincere. I don't say that you are bluffing or it's not your own experience. It's good that you felt better with whatever therapy you were offered, but then this isn't enough of an evidence as far as science goes. This is termed as anecdotal evidence. It can lead you, it can give you ideas, it can give you a direction towards research, but it cannot in itself say that whatever you are offered was actually the intervention that worked in your case. Because backaches and so many other diseases, including certain cancers and so many other disorders, they have a natural course. They can get better on their own. They can get better because of the placebo effect of the drugs. They can get better because maybe you've been exercising, or you've been taking adequate rest, or you've changed the type of furniture that you use, or the type of vehicle that we're using. There are so many confounding factors which need to be looked into. So individual wellness that happens after a specific intervention can help us to suspect that, well, there may be something useful here, but then it is not evidence enough. This is called anecdotal evidence. But then we tend to follow anecdotal evidence, as somebody rightly pointed out some time ago, that a few thousand years ago there wasn't anything else but anecdotal evidence. Don't eat that berry, it will give you diarrhea, and I have to believe it or go ahead and test it for myself. And of course, testing for everything for oneself is not a very good idea. So people believe in each other, and that's the way our brains have been trained. But science and scientific approach and outlook teaches us to question everything, and it teaches us to think counterintuitively. And that is why though I respect and appreciate that you felt better with your wife's medicine, I would not take this as evidence enough to say that homeopathy works. There have been trials across the globe, and people have found it no better than placebo in any of the trials.
Uh,
So that is one thing.
can I
Uh,
can I can I
yes,
intervene? There,
yes.
the
One
what do you
second,
mean
Vivek.
by placebo effect?
Vivek, hang on. Matthew,
Yes.
Matthew, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
Matthew is there.
coming.
Sciatic nerve, is it possible to go away on its own? Issues with
Sciatic
sciatic nerve?
pain. See,
Yeah.
yeah, see, one of the most common causes for sciatica or the pain along the distribution of sciatic nerve, that is a symptom. Sciatica is a symptom. It can be caused due to many disorders, ranging from simple inflammation of the nerve right up to compression of the nerve or the roots of the nerve. The nerve originates as roots from the spinal cord. So if it is getting compressed by a disc or a tumor or anything, that can also cause the symptoms. But many of the sciatic pain is caused by non-specific inflammation. Sometimes the inflammation is the body's reaction to some uncomfortable stimulus or some foreign agent or some disease or thing. So if that in that case, you will perceive it as pain. And most inflammations resolve on their own, and it is probable that this thing went off on its own. So we cannot, as Dr. Shantanu said, his experience is valid, but we cannot say that the particular treatment led to the relief of his symptoms. That is not enough evidence. So, mm, so that is the key point. Earlier, we discussed one aspect of pseudoscience is that they are based on unfalsifiable claims. The second thing that we can recognize regarding pseudosciences or a pseudo therapy is they are all justified by anecdotal evidence. There is no what we call a rigorous scientific documented evidence which is compared with a control group, and mostly what they have is anecdotal evidence, experiences. That is all they have to show as justification for. So that is one characteristic, another characteristic of pseudo science that we have to recognize.
Thank you, Matthew. Before
Maybe
I go to
I can. I have heard one Dr. B.M. Hegde. I don't know
yeah,
whether you
yeah,
guys
yeah.
know.
Let's keep
He
BM
has
Hegde.
given a he has
Vivek,
given a
yeah.
yes.
See, let me explain to you. The today it's actually just an intro session, and we will be going one by one into these different aspects of each and every alternate medicine, right from their basic theory, their diagnosis, their medicines, everything. All I can tell you currently is that homeopathy does question my IQ when it regarding the way the medicines are made, the dilution, the potentization. Now, all I can tell you, comparing this is, how you got it cured without evidence. It's just like it reminds me of the movie Diwar, where Amitabh Bachchan goes and rings the bell in the temple, and suddenly his mother, who's on her deathbed, jumps up and sings a Lata Mangeshkar song. It's nothing more than that. I'll go to Nishad and
Yeah. As Matthew said, these are self-limiting conditions that the body can heal. Inflammations can go away on their own without any intervention. And the other point is that you raised is an appeal to authority, which is citing B.M. Hegde. B.M. Hegde is a human being. He is not a scientific institution. He's a person. The right source for validating any of the claims of any of so-called medicines is to go and read on any of the science magazines like Science Direct, Nature, Lancet, or Lancet's. The Lancet has a magazine apart from the journal, so you could review those, and none of them will give you a decent report about homeopathy. Not a single one. on Wikipedia, you can read the first paragraph clearly says it's a pseudoscience, and it would also help you to find the meaning of pseudoscience yourself, like reading up what qualifies as a pseudoscience, and homeopathy checks in all the boxes, so there is no doubt.
Yeah, I'll just conclude this with three major points. I mean, this is for all the audience also. I mean, you have to see how Vivek started off. He went into homeopathy because his wife is a homeopath. So this is known as appeal to emotion. Now imagine if it was not his wife, it was some stranger in some other place who was giving him homeopathy. Would he have had the same belief in that particular medicine working? Maybe not. So this appeal to emotion has actually biased himself to consider this as an effective treatment. That is number 1 point. Number 2 is B.M. Hegde is actually a modern quack. I'm using the terms very clearly. He is a modern quack. Please go and watch the video which Pranav, he was here before. His YouTube channel is Science is Dope. That Pranav and me have made debunking all the scientific or pseudoscientific stuff that B.M. Hegde has been muttering all the last few years. So please go and see how B.M. Hegde misrepresents medicine. There is a YouTube video. Please go and watch it. You will understand why B.M. Hegde should not be an appeal to authority. He's actually appeal to false authority. You think he's an authority, but actually he is not. He's actually a modern quack. Now, I think we have one more last person. I think they've left actually. So Anupa, would you like to summarize, or Tony, would you like to add on anything to this?
No, I think Atharva, there's one more
Atharva is
chap
here.
out
Yes,
there.
Atharva is part of our group. Atharva, would you
Oh,
like
all right.
to say something?
Uh, Sorry, I joined it late. I was busy with something else.
Absolutely.
I've been in touch with almost all the core members of this community, and I'm like it's my honor to be with you all people and get all this intellectual stuff, get to know this stuff, and I've also been vocal about pseudoscience and its ill effects on Twitter. I have like uh, fair enough following on Twitter, so and most of them are youngsters. I myself am a 20-year-old, so youngsters like to follow me. So
I,
personality. Uh, so yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
thanks for this conversation.
Yeah. Anybody
Tony,
else wants to
may
add
I?
something?
Devnath here. May I?
Dev not. Yeah, yeah. Please, Dev not.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to join this session right from the beginning, but I was a bit late to join. I don't have any questions to ask. I've been part of this kind of discussion for the last 2 months. From whatever discussions we had till date, it has been very progressive and towards certain particular direction. So I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate everybody who is part of this process or this movement. Uh, every reformation of the society should start with proper awareness, and you are trying to create proper awareness among the general public. I'd like to congratulate you on this your efforts, and I'll wish you all the success for the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we could probably conclude. Anupa.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you all for conducting this topic, Science and Pseudoscience intro session. And this was an enlightening session. I just wanted to make sure that I just conclude with the main points. I took so many notes, but it might take almost 10 to 15 minutes, but I don't want to drag it that much time. We started 2 hours ago. Dr. Abhi introduced everyone in the panel, and Dr. Shantanu, ex-homeopathic doctor, but now he is in the modern medicine. He practiced as a OBGYN. And then Dr. Arif Hussain, ex-homeopathic doctor, and also he's now a science enthusiastic. Now Dr. Matthew and Dr. Tony, Philogene, everybody was in there, and Kaipali joined. So we started someone who was like Ebin, who supported the science, and then Hemant came. He claimed himself as an MPBS or modern medicine, but I think he was Dr. Arif. And the way it went was like he was asking, so can you tell what Hahnemann did, how Hahnemann did the experiments on himself and all that. So Dr. Arif was able to explain again the unstatistical significance not considered by Hahnemann. All the principles used in homeopathy is discarded. Okay, the observation made by Hahnemann was a misinterpretation. That was the conclusion of that topic. Then someone called Ashen, he came in and he was asking the integrity of journals and everything. And then Pratik came, and then he was actually advocating for placebo effects. And then Nishad came in and really cleared his doubts on effectiveness of the drugs. And there was one abuser I would like to say about him. He was just throwing out bad words. So then, definitely, he represented the pseudoscience. We were able to block him soon. But as we speak about science and pseudoscience, this is how the people represent themselves, like just using abusive words. Then I think Nanda, she was asking about the detoxification. And so Dr. Abi was able to really talk about a liver, kidney, so that is the detoxification that we have our own. And then why should we go to the Panchakarma detoxification, which is not even evidence-based, which is just there for lighten our wallets. So science is seeking, but that's not to replace with the pseudoscience. And then Kiran Lal came, and he had logical fallacy, appeal to ignorance, appeal to authority. Um, what about I don't know. The first question that he raised is, what will happen in 50 years? And so Tony just asked Kiran, let's keep science aside and just tell us what is your understanding of pseudoscience. And he said he doesn't know. So then he doesn't know what is pseudoscience means, what is science means. Then we thought of like, okay, he can just learn it from our all the sessions. So he might be coming back, I believe. So, and then Apurva and Manjunath, interestingly, they were able to really enlighten our knowledge on where science is going, how science can forecast or predict. Then there was another person who came in, Kirit Ratan. So he was talking about that incident happened in North India, where someone was like talking science and practicing really and like not scientific, but then got caught by the police and the government. Medico is an MBBS student. He concerned his voices about Ayush practice in the curriculum, and so I think that's one thing that we are all concerned about. And what Dr. Abi mentioned is like if people can harm other people if they have emotional attachments to this pseudoscience. So we have to keep in mind, we have to make sure that all the general public know about this pseudoscience so that they will not develop that emotional attachment to it. Then after that, Manish Patel was another person who came in who was experimenting on his dad, his family, and he was unable to talk about he was talking about some energy, healing energy that is not touchable, measurable, sensible, and that's invisible. So Nishad's story or narration about that was like, I have a dragon at my balcony. I can only see that, talk to it, and sense it. So what do we call for that? So I think people get the idea of like when people say they can heal with an invisible energy, we should understand this person is talking about either madness or something else. So this is for the public to understand. to identify these type of people and categorize them into you know pseudoscience. Then Abhishek asked two questions. I think that was good. Dr. Abhi was able to answer about an anti-worm tablet which should not be used for COVID. I thought Abhishek was then very thankful. Then Trim came in and asked some questions to Nishad. He was really worried about the India having malpractices and not having scientific temper. And so I think Nishad repeated himself again and again about 1 is to 1500 doctor patient ratio in India and at least 54% practicing quackery, and especially in North India, the cultural and religious bias involved. So I think it made some sense. So then Dr. Matthew and Dr. Abhi was able to again talk about the modern medicine, how it evolved and how it became like a growing, ongoing and is still growing just because we have always, um, always been doing studies and testing and evidence-based practices and following the scientific method. Then at the very end, I think Safe came in and he was asking as an evolution, do we follow a leader or we we ask questions? So and then Nishad was able to answer that too, the system one and system two thinking, and also not using our brain, but sometimes we have to take care of our system, like education system, on how to use the system too, like encourage to ask questions, critical thinking, and how to incorporate that into our basic education. Then at the very end, we saw another appeal to emotion. Someone who has a wife who is a homeopathic now, he is coming with the testimonials that his back pain or sciatica nerve is um, he got cured with that. So we have seen these type of testimonials so many times now. But the good thing is, like, uh, we have these sessions going on now, maybe in a weekly basis, with these doctors and all these science enthusiastic people. So that way we can actually come up with a clear knowledge on what is science and what is pseudoscience. I think I want to conclude there, but I really want to appreciate everyone who participated in this session, because by asking your simple questions and giving the answer, all the people in the audience are able to really clarify their doubts on certain things. And thank you so much for coming up and asking questions to our panel. And I really appreciate again Dr. Abi on leading this session, and Dr. Arif Hussain, Dr. Matthew, Tony, Pilgin, Kaipali, and I wanted to take everybody's name. One second, let me go back to my okay, so Shantanu, again, Anand is there, and Roshan, and Chandrasekhar. Oh my God, you're always been there, making sure that everyone moved it back to the audience after they ask questions. So the great moderation that you did. And I think Libin was there. Bob, and I haven't heard you, but I know you're supporting there. And then Apurva and Atharva, who came in late. Again, Sanatana, thanks so much, guys, everyone, for contributing and making sure that our community benefit from this knowledge. Thanks so much. Yes.
Thank you, Anupa. Abby, am I audible? Abby,
Ye-
yeah.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I'll just make just one sentence. We kind of coined this, or we try to call this as an exercise. These kind of sessions, we call it an exercise. We kind of get informations, and we also bring in an awareness, and we let the public know, the audience know, how to question or how to understand science better, how to question and find out what is science and what is pseudoscience. So in the coming sessions also, we shall be doing similar exercise, and we will be going into the basics of most of these and the theories of all these subjects. Over to you, Abby. And just one more thing, to all the audience over here, as I normally say, your body is not a laboratory for someone to experiment on. It is your right to know what is the drug that is going into your body, what is the mechanism of action, and what are the results. So you have every right, and you should be questioning the doctors, be it a modern medical practitioner or Ayurveda or homeopathy, wherever you go. It is your right to know that.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I think very important last words there before the section ended. I would like to confirm that Chandrasekhar, are we having important recorded sessions of this on Lucy?
Yeah, I've tried recording it anyway. In and out, I was in and out because my net was not very proper. But anyway, we have it on tape. Probably within 2 days, we'll be publishing it on Lucy.
Yeah, so everyone, please follow Chandrasekhar and his YouTube channel. It's called Lucy Malayalam. We have it's called Lucy Malayalam, but with a lot of good English-based, science English language-based scientific topics in there with subtitles also. Some of the Malayalam ones are good, and I hope you follow him. And then important parts of these topic discussions will be published on Lucy YouTube channel. So please look out for that. And every Wednesday or Thursday we will be bringing out the topic for that particular weekend, and please keep a watch out for that. So please follow the mad room, and please look out for our updates in the future. So that's it from me. Thank you all for coming in. The first session, I think, was brilliant. We had almost 400 plus audience tuning in at one point, and that was maintained for a long time. And because you are all interested is why we can actually do this. So we are very happy that this could be done, and we would like to do this more in the future. So thank you, and good night from me.
Good night. Just do the count on 5, 4,
Yeah, before
3,
that,
2,
everyone, please
1.
invite your friends to follow this club and follow the speakers you like, so that we can come to you with more material. So please follow this club and keep in touch. Thank you. Tony, begin the countdown again. Sorry.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the discussion. I hope to be part of many more such discussions in order to gain more knowledge about the pseudoscientific aspects of woo-woo medicines. If you would like to be part of the same, please click on the link in the description box to follow the Modern Ayush Detox Room. Until next time, it's bye-bye from Pale Blue Thoughts.